In a world where the festival of the descending gods takes place, people celebrate a sacred day when the gods supposedly descend to Earth. Anyone who has a birthday that year receives a special blessing from the gods, which can be a useful skill for adventures, trade, or item creation. These abilities are called gifts by the people. In a small town called Arcel, a boy named Geo tries to wake up Sena, who is still sleepy and stalls to get out of bed. Geo excitedly reminds her that today is the festival of the descending gods. Geo tries to hurry Sena, so they won't be late for the festival prayer, but she complains and acts spoiled. Even so, she ends up getting dressed by herself. Geo thinks that, even though they're about to receive their gifts from the gods and become adults, Sena is still spoiled. Geo explains that he and Sena are 5-year-old siblings, but they have different mothers and were born a few months apart. After their father, who was an adventurer, died years ago, the two started living together. Geo doesn't know many details about the family, but now, ready for the festival, they head out together through the town. Geo and Sena talk as they go to the festival. Geo feels anxious, thinking about what gift he'll receive from the gods, hoping it's something useful to become an adventurer like their father. Even though he says that, he has other personal reasons but prefers not to talk about them. Sena comments that he always talks about this dream of becoming an adventurer. Sena excitedly says she's sure Geo will get an amazing gift from the gods, even though he doubts it. She says she just feels it. Geo jokes with her, and the two keep talking as they walk. Sena thinks that, if she can support her brother's dream, she'll already feel accomplished. When they arrive, they see everyone already praying, and decide to join the group. Geo joins the prayer along with the others, following the festival custom of praying at sunrise. He strongly asks the gods for a useful gift to become an adventurer. They say that, at that moment, each person receives their gift from the gods. Suddenly, a flash appears on the horizon. People keep praying, each one focused, and several points of light appear around them. The moment marks the delivery of the gods' blessings to everyone present. Geo, still kneeling, is surprised to feel a mysterious presence approaching him. A figure appears among the lights, saying it will grant him a special gift. Geo is astonished, waiting to find out what his gift will be. Geo wakes up and Sena immediately asks what kind of gift he received. Sena reveals that she got a blessing called Favor of the Sword God. Thinking the name is exaggerated and strange, Geo, still surprised, feels thoughtful about the whole situation. Geo gets excited when he hears that Sena's gift is something related to swords, saying it's perfect for adventures and must be rare. Sena gets really close, excited, and Geo even gets startled, thinking she was going to kiss him. Then, Sena asks about the gift Geo received, making him a bit nervous to answer. Geo reveals, a bit embarrassed, that his gift from the gods is called Home Garden. He feels awkward while the others repeat the name, and Sena tries not to laugh. Annie can't hold back her laughter when she hears that Geo's gift is Home Garden, finding it very funny. Sifa scolds her, saying it's disrespectful to mock someone's gift, since it's a blessing from the gods. Geo feels even more embarrassed by the situation. Geo is embarrassed that Sifa and Annie heard about his gift. Sifa tries to cheer him up, saying that gifts depend only on how you use them, and that, if he learns to use it well, it can be useful. Sena comments that she doesn't know this gift but wonders if she'll be able to help Geo with it. Annie keeps laughing, and Geo just feels more uncomfortable. Geo explains that Sifa and Annie are childhood friends. Both already work as adventurers. Annie has a gift called Hunter's Nose, and Sifa, who is 3 years older, received a rare gift called Empress's Authority, being recognized as a superior adventurer even at such a young age. Geo thinks he always wanted to follow that same path. Geo reveals that his main reason for wanting to be an adventurer was Sifa. Sena notices and teases Geo, saying that now he won't be able to adventure alongside her. Geo gets super embarrassed with the situation. Geo is devastated to realize that Sena noticed his feelings for Sifa. Sifa, curious, asks what Sena's gift was. Upon hearing the name Favor of the Sword God, Sifa says she's never heard of it but imagines it must be something very powerful just from the name, suggesting that Sena has the potential to become a great swordswoman and adventurer. Sifa invites Sena to join their group, since they need a new member after someone left. Sena is surprised by the invitation, and Sifa confirms she would gladly accept her. Geo realizes that Sena now has a great chance to become an adventurer alongside Sifa, especially since she received such a powerful gift. Sena feels nervous about the idea of separating from Geo, but he encourages her to accept Sifa's invitation, saying that now she's an adult and needs to follow her own path. Geo admits that he doesn't even know if he'll be able to support himself with his gift and can't expect her to take care of him. Sena agrees, even though she's still unsure. Sena confidently decides that she will become an adventurer. She says she wants to earn a lot of money while she's young, and then enjoy life without worries. Sena says goodbye to Geo, excited, waving and heading for her new path. Geo just watches, a bit surprised by her attitude. Geo feels down seeing Sena go on an adventure with Sifa, while he's left behind with a gift that seems useless. He looks at his messy backyard and thinks that, by the name, his gift must literally be a home garden. Suddenly, a message appears asking if he wants to designate a garden, leaving Geo surprised. Geo notices an area of the ground glowing and starts to hear a voice in his head asking if he wants to designate a garden there. Surprised by the strange situation, he accepts, still unsure and not quite understanding how his gift works. Suddenly, the ground where Geo chose begins to transform, and a part of the land becomes a well-cultivated garden with soft soil. He is surprised, trying to understand what's happening, and realizes he really created a garden out of nowhere, thanks to his gift. Geo sees a magical screen showing that his home garden is at level 1, with space for cultivation and several planting options like wheat, potatoes, tomatoes, and other vegetables. He's impressed to see that he can choose what to plant in his own garden. Geo decides to test his gift and chooses to plant potatoes in part of the garden. He follows the instructions and confirms the spot, but is surprised to see that the cultivation starts on its own, without him needing to plant seeds or do anything manually. Geo is amazed at how easy it is to grow vegetables with his gift and decides to try planting some other types of plants, since it doesn't cost anything. He realizes that each crop takes up space in the field and decides to spread the plantings throughout the garden. Even so, Geo doesn't quite understand the point of this gift and decides to just check on the garden from time to time, since the field doesn't seem to have changed visually. After just an hour, Geo is amazed to see that his backyard has completely transformed into an amazing garden full of plants. He's shocked at the speed and the impressive result of his gift. Geo sees that the vegetables grew quickly and are ready to harvest, something that would normally take months. He's impressed, thinking the gift can even read his mind. When he thinks about harvesting, the voice of the gift offers the option, and Geo decides to try harvesting the vegetables, curious about the result. As soon as Geo accepts to harvest, the vegetables start to detach from the plants and jump toward him, piling up at his feet. He's surprised to see everything moving automatically, without him having to do anything. Geo sees several baskets full of vegetables magically appearing in front of him, all harvested by the garden itself. He thinks about how strange everything is. Soil prepared in seconds, plants growing fast without seeds, messages about levels and skills, and even baskets appearing from nowhere to store the harvest. Everything happens automatically and surprisingly for him. Geo is amazed by how practical the gift is, since he doesn't even have to get his hands dirty to harvest everything. He picks up a tomato, curious if it's safe to eat, and notices that it looks like a normal, appetizing tomato. After seeing that it doesn't move anymore, he decides to try it. Geo tastes the tomato from his garden and is surprised by the flavor, finding it delicious and sweet, almost like a fruit. He notices the pulp is firm and juicy, with the perfect balance between sweetness and acidity. Geo gets excited about the taste of the tomatoes and thinks all the vegetables from his garden must also be incredible, even though they're considered medium quality. Meanwhile, Sena and the other girls arrive at a new place and are impressed by what they see. Sena, Sifa, and Annie arrive in an open field, and Sena is amazed since it's her first time outside the city. While exploring, they talk about the dangers and opportunities for adventurers, including the possibility of finding dungeons. Suddenly, Annie senses the presence of a monster and gets ready to act. A goblin appears in the bushes, scaring the group. Annie says it's the perfect opponent for beginner adventurers, and Sifa assures them there's only one, so there's no need to worry. Sena quickly charges at the goblin and strikes so fast that Sifa and Annie can barely see the sword move. The two are surprised by Sena's speed and strength in her very first fight. Sena smiles confidently after her first strike and says she thinks she can defeat a goblin alone. Even though she's warned about the danger of acting alone, she moves forward, believing she can handle the creature without a problem. During the fight, the goblin throws a stone at Sena as a projectile, but she reacts quickly and blocks the attack with her sword, surprising her friends even more with her reflexes. Sena takes advantage of the opening and delivers a decisive blow with her sword, defeating the goblin in one go. Sifa and Annie are shocked by the strength and skill Sena showed in the fight. Sena celebrates, excited to have defeated the goblin on her own. Sifa and Annie watch, impressed with Sena's courage in facing the monster without hesitation. The strength she showed blocking a projectile and especially her surprising sword skills. Sifa and Annie realize that Sena might be much more talented than they thought. Later, Sena returns home happy and tells Geo that she fought a monster on her first adventure. Geo, who was cooking, welcomes his sister back and asks about her day. Sena celebrates, excited, while Geo finishes dinner. Geo worries about Sena for coming back so quickly, but she assures him that she's fine and that using the sword was easier than she imagined. Geo feels a bit jealous of his sister's talent. He tells her he prepared a special stew using vegetables from his magical garden as a reward for Sena's good work on her first mission. Sena gets excited to see the food, praising the appearance of the dish. Sena tastes the stew prepared by Geo and is amazed by the flavor, saying it's really tasty. Geo watches her reaction, relieved and happy to have made such a good meal using vegetables from his magical garden. Sena is impressed with the stew, saying all the vegetables are delicious and that the flavor is way above normal. Geo tries it too and agrees, surprised at how tasty the food is that day, different from usual. The two celebrate the result of the meal made with vegetables from the magical garden. Sena praises the stew a lot, saying she's never eaten such delicious vegetables and that the dish is just right. Geo is happy to see his sister enjoying herself, realizing that the vegetables from his garden are really on another level. The two enjoy the meal together, satisfied with the result. Sena likes the food so much that she asks for more but notices the pot is already empty from how much she ate. Curious, she asks where Geo bought such good vegetables. Geo, excited, says he'll explain everything if she goes with him, ready to show the secret of his gift. Geo shows Sena the garden he created in the backyard with his gift. She's impressed to learn the vegetables came from there and asks if it's the power of the home garden. Geo confirms and says that now they'll be able to eat delicious meals every day and save money on food. Sena is excited about the news. Geo admits he feels jealous of those who got adventure-focused gifts but realizes his home garden is also amazing in a different way. Sena, excited about the food, is already thinking about the next meal, while Geo jokes about her appetite. Geo notices a stone falling, and Sena explains it's a magic stone she got during the adventure. Suddenly, a message appears asking if he wants to use the magic stone, making Geo curious about what will happen if he accepts. Geo asks if he can keep the magic stone, and Sena agrees, curious about what he'll do. He uses the stone in the garden, and immediately a message appears saying the magic stone was used. Geo asks Sena to wait a bit, eager to see what will happen in the garden. Geo watches curiously to see what happens after using the magic stone in the garden and is completely shocked to see pieces of meat growing among the plants. He realizes, surprised, that his home garden can now produce meat as well, not just vegetables. Geo thinks about how incredible his gift, the home garden, is, as it allows him to easily grow delicious food. But after using a magic stone, he is shocked to see that a tree has started producing pieces of meat, leaving him wondering where this power will end. Sena is fighting at the entrance of a dungeon and faces several monsters, including a giant bat. She manages to defeat them but starts to feel tired from the number of enemies that keep appearing. Sena explores the dungeon with her friends and shows skill, making everyone feel safe even in the dangerous place. She finds a magic stone and decides to save it as a souvenir for Geo, her brother. Sifa notices and asks about him, realizing that Geo has been down since the festival. Sena says she's a bit worried about Geo since he wanted to be an adventurer but got a gift that seems simple. Even so, she says he's doing well at home and praises him, believing that, with this power, he could even conquer the world. Sifa and Annie are surprised by her confidence. Geo is surprised to hear that Sifa wants to visit his house along with Annie. He starts thinking about how much he'll need to clean up the house. Geo wants to impress Sifa since it's been a while since she visited his house, so he thinks about how to make her happy but feels insecure and wonders if he might end up disappointing her. He notices that Sifa is hard to read since she never shows many emotions, unlike Annie who is always cheerful. Sena arrives excited, greeting everyone. Geo is surprised when Sena says that she and Annie want to see his garden. He thinks that, since the vegetables from the garden are such a hit, showing off the harvest could be a great way to impress Sifa as well. Sena is always happy at mealtime, so he believes Sifa will like the fresh vegetables. Geo decides to prepare everything and make the garden look nice to receive the guests. Geo looks at his garden, now full of meat growing on trees, and realizes it no longer looks like an ordinary garden. Sena arrives and hands him some magic stones. Geo thanks her and realizes he's about to increase the level of his garden even more, which has already reached level 2 and is almost leveling up again. Geo discovers that it's now possible to cultivate meat in his garden and decides to try to evolve the place even more using the magic stones. The panel shows that, with each new level, the garden space increases and more types of crops appear. Sena watches curiously as Geo uses all the stones, which soon disappear after being used in the process. Geo celebrates when he sees the garden has leveled up to level 3. Now he can expand the space even more and grow new types of vegetables. He's curious when he sees names of different plants, while Sena also doesn't recognize some, making the duo excited about the new possibilities for the garden. Geo and Sena start planting excitedly, and soon realize that several new vegetables have sprouted in the field. Geo says he tried to expand the garden, and Sena is surprised by the amount of different things growing there. Geo and Sena harvest purple sweet potatoes and are surprised by the color. They cook and try them together, finding the taste similar to boiled potatoes, and Sena enjoys the food with a lot of excitement. Geo and Sena taste the sweet potatoes and are surprised because, despite the texture being like potatoes, the taste is sweet. Sena says the vegetable is more like a snack, and even Geo thinks it could be used to make desserts. He realizes he can create more things if he keeps using magic stones, and gets excited about the potential of his gift. In the end, he learns a new skill, and his garden keeps evolving. On the day of the visit, Sifa arrives at their house and apologizes for taking up their time. Geo gets all nervous but replies that she's welcome anytime. Sena is super excited about the visit and welcomes Sifa happily, telling her to come in. Geo is excited and surprised that Sifa is visiting, while Sena jokes that she's there too and makes a pouty face for being ignored. Sifa explains that she heard Sena praising the garden a lot, saying that he could even conquer the world. That's why she got curious and decided to visit to see it up close. Sifa enters the house, a bit skeptical, saying she didn't believe that a simple gift like home garden could be all that. When she sees the backyard completely taken over by a huge, beautiful garden, she and Annie are surprised, not understanding how it's possible. Annie and Sifa walk through the garden, amazed by the number of types of plants growing there. There are vegetables, fruits, mushrooms, and everything is big and beautiful. They notice that the backyard, which used to be all messy, now even has a well-made fence. Geo confirms that everything in the backyard is thanks to his special gift. He explains that he even managed to build a fence around the house quickly, surprising everyone. Annie comments that there are several plants there she's never seen before, so it doesn't matter the season or environment. She thinks she didn't believe in his gift before, but is now impressed with the result. Geo realizes that Annie, who used to make fun of his gift, is now shocked by everything she saw. He wonders if Sifa found it boring or was disappointed, since she still has that same neutral expression as always. A bit nervous, he asks Sifa what she thought of the garden. Geo is surprised to hear that Sifa was shocked at how amazing the garden was. He realizes she might have just been worried about him before. The girls ask to taste some freshly picked vegetables, and Geo gets excited to start the harvest, thinking this is his chance to impress everyone. Geo shows the meat tree to the girls, who are totally shocked to see it. He says he was also shocked when he saw it for the first time. The girls doubt whether it's real, thinking they might be hallucinating, as they've never seen meat growing on a tree before. The girls are confused, trying to understand how meat can grow on a tree since that doesn't exist in their world. Geo explains that with his gift, it's possible. He warns that he's going to harvest some meat to show them, and when he does, the pieces of meat start moving on their own, scaring everyone. Geo picks up the meat that fell from the tree and sees a basket appear out of nowhere. The meat starts jumping into the basket by itself, surprising the girls even more. Annie is in shock and doesn't believe what she's seeing since everything in that garden is completely abnormal. Geo shows a bunch of super fresh meat to the girls. Annie confirms that it's real meat, and everyone is surprised by its appearance. Sifa asks if they're really going to eat it, but Geo and Annie are already excited and suggest having a barbecue with the tree meat. Geo is a bit worried, thinking Sifa will find it weird to eat meat that came from a tree, but Sifa says she'd like to try it. Annie and Geo are surprised by her response. Sifa says it's no problem since all of it is part of Geo's gift. Geo says he'll help too. Annie is responsible for the vegetables, while Sena will help prepare the meat for the barbecue. Everyone is excited for the barbecue, and the vegetables move on their own to the prep area, making everything easier. The meat is grilling on the barbecue, and everyone smells the delicious aroma. Geo says it's almost ready, and everyone gets excited to eat, but they remind Sena that the guests have to be served first. Sifa takes a piece of meat, and Geo warns her to be careful because it's still hot. Everyone is curious to see how she'll react, watching silently as she tries the meat. Sifa tries the meat, is surprised, and says it's really tasty. Geo and the others notice that she's eating happily, and get excited to see that she really liked it. Gio celebrates for managing to surprise Sifa. Gio is happy that Sifa liked the meat. He encourages Annie to try it too. Annie eats a piece, is surprised by the flavor, and says the meat is super tender, juicy, and delicious, being the first time she's ever tasted anything like it. Annie can't stop praising the meat, is shocked at how good it is, and can't believe it grew on a tree. Sifa comments that both the meat, vegetables, and mushrooms are great, and even after eating a lot, Annie can't stop. Gio shows up with a dessert he prepared, a sweet potato pie. Gio appears with the sweet potato pie in his hands, and Annie immediately gets excited, saying she loved it. Sifa asks if he also grew the potatoes, and he confirms. Everyone tries the pie, and as soon as they take the first bite, they're surprised by the sweet and delicious flavor. Sifa and Annie melt over the pie, saying it's incredibly sweet and tastes like honey. Annie had never eaten anything like it before and is delighted. The two ask for more slices, and Gio offers as much as they want. He comments quietly that sweets always please women, while everyone keeps praising the flavor. Sena brags that she already knew about her brother's talent, while Gio is happy with the compliments. Sifa confirms that it really is amazing. Everyone admires the garden, now full of vegetables, meat, and desserts, all grown right there, as if it were a magical place. Sifa praises Gio, saying that he and his gift are amazing. She smiles happily, leaving Gio emotional for seeing her smile like that because of him. He's very happy to have done something she really liked. Gio gets a little startled when Sifa asks if he was talking to her, but quickly brushes it off. He offers more food, saying there's still plenty, and that she can eat as much as she wants. Deep down, he just wanted to make sure she felt welcome. Gio watches the girls happily eating and realizes that, thanks to his gift, he managed to make Sifa smile. He thinks this was only possible because of the home garden, and recognizes how amazing that power really is. While everyone is still eating, Annie comments that, as delicious as the food is, it would be impossible to consume it all alone. She suggests to Gio that he use the food harvested from his garden in her shop, since the production is far too much for just him and Sena. Gio arrives in town and is surprised by the huge line in front of the restaurant, even though it's lunchtime. Inside, Annie eagerly greets the customers, already prepared to serve the next group. The place's popularity has clearly increased. Gio realizes that the restaurant's clientele is only men and understands the reason for the line. Annie, dressed in an eye-catching outfit and acting cute, tries to convince him to come in too. He's completely embarrassed by the invitation, while someone shouts from the back asking why he's falling for her tricks. Gio is surprised to realize that a rival restaurant has opened right in front of his house. Annie appears annoyed and pulls him back, saying his business is on the other side of the street. He tries to justify himself, saying he was just analyzing the situation, but is even more shocked to see how busy the place is. Gio enters Annie's family restaurant, Lucas, and finds it completely empty. He remembers how busy the place used to be, especially when he would come with Sena. Now, the situation is sad since the rival restaurant opened, all the customers disappeared. Annie explains that, since her parents are always traveling and she spends a lot of time on adventures, she left her sister Alicia in charge of the restaurant. Gio is surprised to hear this. Soon after, Alicia appears excited, coming into the hall and being introduced as a brave woman who has helped at the restaurant for quite some time. Annie freaks out when she sees her sister Alicia wearing an extremely flashy outfit. She screams in embarrassment, while Alicia explains that she's trying to compete with the rival restaurant by using an even bolder look. Gio is left speechless at the scene, and one of the girls comments that, except for the apron, Alicia is basically naked. The situation turns into chaos between the sisters, with Alicia trying to justify her choice and Annie totally embarrassed. Annie pulls on her sister's clothes and says her strategy has a major flaw. Her chest is as flat as a board, so she wouldn't be able to attract male customers that way. Alicia is shocked by the provocation, and Gio just watches the confusion. With nothing to say back, Alicia decides she has no choice but to try another plan. Alicia appears with a very flashy dress and tries to convince Annie to wear it instead, saying her sister's body would attract any man. Annie is completely embarrassed and immediately refuses, shouting that she would never wear something like that. Gio watches everything without understanding how things got to this point. Annie gets embarrassed and accuses Gio of imagining her wearing that outfit, but he denies it, confused. Even so, she hits him reflexively. Then, Alicia comments that since Annie is now an adventurer, it's her responsibility to keep the restaurant running. Annie admits this, a bit embarrassed. Annie says she also wants to help since the restaurant is important to her. Even without resorting to seduction, She believes Gio's food alone would be enough to attract customers. But she recognizes that the menu is too simple, and the place's look isn't eye-catching. If things go on like this, the restaurant they inherited from their parents will end up closing. Gio sees how important the restaurant is to both sisters, and is surprised to see even Alicia so worried about it. During dinner, Annie gathers her courage and says she called Gio there for a reason. Gio reveals he came with an idea to help. He offers ingredients harvested directly from his garden. The sisters are surprised by the variety of vegetables, and he assures them everything is tasty and high quality. The sisters are impressed with the ingredients Gio brought. Everything looks fresh and high quality, including some plants they'd never seen before. But the biggest surprise is the reveal. He also grew rice. Alicia gets excited to see the rice, saying it's a very rare grain in that region, almost never imported and hard to find. She had only seen it once at the market, and even then it wasn't as white and clean as what Gio brought. He, surprised, says he just grew it normally, and it turned out like this. Alicia is amazed by the ingredients Gio brought, asking what kind of garden he has if you can even harvest meat from trees. He calmly replies it's just a home garden. Annie, excited, suggests cooking something with the ingredients. Alicia, a bit more serious, says she'd rather her sister didn't have to resort to seduction to save the restaurant. Alicia thanks him and decides to test Gio's ingredients. She starts cutting everything with great skill, impressing everyone. Gio comments on how good she is at it, and she smiles, saying it's no wonder she's the owner of Lucas Restaurant. While Alicia says that rice is the real problem, as it's hard and tasteless, Annie comes running in with a book in her hand. She says she found it in their dad's room, and it teaches how to prepare rice. Alicia is happy, finally having a reference for how to cook it right. Alicia starts reading the book and finds a confusing instruction, which seems more like a curse. They find it odd, but discover it's just an explanation of the heat level. Even though it looks complicated, she decides to try. On the first try, she adds too much water and it becomes mush. On the third, she burns the rice. Gio helps by harvesting more and more, and even after several attempts, they still don't get it right. The trio anxiously watches the rice cooking, not knowing if this time it will work. When the lid lifts with the steam, everyone is surprised. The smell, the look, it seemed perfect. Gio smiles excitedly, and so does Alicia, her eyes shining. Finally, it seems they got it right. Gio walks confidently through the streets, thinking everyone will love what they prepared. Outside the restaurant, a huge line has formed. The customers, excited, talk among themselves as they wait. Some complain about being hungry. Others talk about the pretty waitresses who will serve them. The expectation only grows. A young man approaches, curious, drawn by the delicious smell coming from the restaurant. When he comes in, Alicia welcomes him with a smile and invites him to try the food at Lucas. She wears a traditional, elegant outfit and greets the customer with confidence and friendliness. Alicia appears with a clipboard in hand, announcing the new restaurant menu. The men in line are impressed by her beauty and elegance. Annie also appears, now dressed in a more modest and traditional outfit. She explains she chose a look that wouldn't make her sister look strange. The movement draws attention, and more people get interested in the restaurant. The customers start getting closer, excited, asking if they can order yet. Alicia greets them with a smile and says yes. In a short time, several tables are already occupied. Gio appears with the ready dishes and serves the customers, saying he brought the most recommended dishes. One of the guys is surprised by the presentation of the food. The dishes impress the customers. Vegetable soup, potato salad, beef rolls with burdock and shiso, and rice. One of the customers is surprised to see rice being served, as he'd never seen it before. Another says it's rare to find something like that in a regular restaurant and is curious about the taste. The customers try the food and are shocked by the flavor. One is impressed with the rice, saying it's incredibly soft and fluffy. The other can't believe how good everything is. Gio watches it all, satisfied, thinking the sister's effort and the ingredients he brought made all the difference. The customers keep eating and get even more impressed. One of them is surprised by the rice, which gets sweeter with every bite. They praise the salad, the soup, the meat, and comment on how the shiso is refreshing and the burdock is super crunchy. In the end, they say the combination of everything with the rice takes the meal to another level. The customers can't stop eating and are completely hooked on the dishes. One of them shouts that he wants to keep eating forever. In the end, the plates are empty, and one laments there's no more rice. Everyone is impressed, and Gio smiles as he hears a customer say he's never eaten anything so good in his life. The girl also celebrates, saying the restaurant is amazing. While the customers lamented the rice was gone, the waitress appears again with more full plates, saying they could eat as much as they wanted. Everyone is shocked by the news, completely excited at the idea of eating as much as they like. While some people shouted for more, the line outside kept growing. A group sees the excitement and decides to try the restaurant too. Inside, the place is packed, full of happy people eating and praising the food. New customers come in, asking if there's still space, while the team rushes to serve everyone. Alicia serves another plate with a smile on her face, and despite the rush, she seems happy with everything. Gio helps with service, taking orders as the restaurant gets even fuller. The customers praise the food and comment on how rare and high quality the ingredients are, wondering where so many good things come from. Gio thanks them, excited. But before he can finish speaking, he notices something odd. Annie suddenly stops with a somewhat serious expression. He asks if everything's okay, and she tries to play it off, saying it's nothing. But clearly something crossed her mind at that moment. One of the customers comments that the restaurant across the street has pretty girls, but the food is mediocre. Lucas' restaurant, on the other hand, really surprised him, and now he plans to go there all the time. Gio adds that the food is great and praises the owner too, calling her amazing. Annie hears and smiles, visibly happy with the recognition. After closing time, Annie thanks Gio with a smile, saying it's been a long time since the restaurant had such a busy day. She offers to pay for the ingredients and insists she will reward him. Gio replies that it's not necessary and is just happy to have helped. Annie insists she can't take advantage of Gio, even though they're friends. She says she'll pay double for the ingredients because of the quality. Gio says she can pay the regular price for now, and when the restaurant has more profit, they'll talk again. He says the most important thing for him is seeing her restaurant doing well. Annie gets emotional and is impressed by his attitude. Gio thinks about how wonderful older women are and is surprised when Annie approaches him warmly and asks what he thinks of them. Without giving him much time to think, she gets closer and directly asks if he'd like to date her, leaving the boy completely speechless. Gio is completely stunned by Annie's question until the door bursts open, and a girl comes in shouting for her to stop teasing him. She says Gio is too naive and trusting, and that it's not fair to mess with him. Annie brushes it off, gives a smile, and lets it go. Gio tries to figure out what happened, thinking she was just joking with him, even though he was really surprised. Annie approaches the girl and whispers in her ear that if she doesn't pay attention, she really will hit on Gio. The girl is surprised and tries to hide it, saying she doesn't care and that Annie can do whatever she wants. Annie just laughs and walks away, saying she needs to get ready for the next day. Alicia leaves excited, saying she'll do her best for Lucas. Gio comments he's happy to see she's doing well, remembering that before she would act on impulse out of worry. Meanwhile, another young man observes how people started gathering at the restaurant with unexpected speed. Gio comments that Alicia is exaggerating, but she responds by pulling him, saying he should limit who knows about his gift. She explains that, since he has such a rare and valuable skill, he could end up being kidnapped and forced to produce ingredients non-stop. Even though it's just a regular garden to him, the risk exists, so she just wants him to be careful. Gio realizes Alicia just wanted to protect him when she tried to warn him earlier. He asks if she was worried about him, making Alicia embarrassed. She tries to justify herself, saying that if something happened to him, it would be inconvenient for the restaurant. Gio understands but recognizes she's right. He says he trusts her and the others, and will be more careful with whom he shares his secret. Gio says he couldn't help his sister much, but Alicia says he saved the day. He tries to downplay it, saying they're childhood friends and it's only natural to help. She stays quiet for a moment, then says he's a kind idiot. Gio hears and doesn't understand, asking what she just said. As she walks away down the street under the moonlight, Alicia looks back with a sincere smile and shouts a thank you to Gio. He watches her in silence, surprised by the unexpected gesture. Gio stands still surprised by Annie's sudden thanks. While remembering the moments when she was annoyed or suspicious, he smiles slightly, finding it funny to see this gentler side of her. He never imagined he'd hear such sincere words from her. The restaurant is packed, everyone eating happily and satisfied. Alicia walks among the tables serving customers with a smile. She observes the happiness of the people and feels proud, thinking how good it is to see so many people happy because of the food they serve there. Gio walks through the streets thinking about the warning he received. He realizes his gift could end up being exploited if he's not careful. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure appears carrying a full bag and smiling, saying they made great deals that day, catching the attention of those around. The front of Lucas' restaurant is packed, with a huge line of customers waiting. Meanwhile, the restaurant across the street is empty. A girl watching everything comments that the other place used to be more popular before. She realizes there's some secret behind Lucas's success and gets excited, determined to find out what's going on. Gio calls his sister's attention to something strange in the garden. When she arrives, he shows her the vegetables, which have been bitten again. Outraged, she complains that this has happened before. Looking closer, she realizes they really are all gnawed. Gio observes the damaged vegetables and explains that it's the crows' fault, which have been causing a lot of trouble lately. He says they're a real nuisance and have been attacking everything around there. The girl asks if Gio wants her to get rid of the crows, pulling out her sword confidently. He's surprised by the idea, thinking it's a bit disturbing, but she assures him it would be easy. He comments that for an adventurer, crows really are nothing. Gio finds it strange that no crows appear when he's with Sena, since when he's alone, they show up in flocks. Sena comments that maybe the crows are afraid of her and jokes, asking if that means they're underestimating him. Gio gets annoyed and tells her to shut up. Sena suggests becoming the garden's protector, but Gio says she'd just end up lazing around at home if she did that. She then says goodbye and leaves for her adventure. Gio thinks to himself that a fence doesn't solve anything against birds and that he can't always be watching, but for now, the crows have been driven off by Sena. Gio gathers his magic stones, believing he finally has enough to level up. After using them, a message appears confirming he reached level 10. He thinks maybe something is going to happen now. Gio unlocks a new ability upon reaching level 10. Now he can expand his garden area. Before he can explore it, someone comes running and calls out to him. He turns around, curious, asking who it is. For now, he decides to leave the new feature for later. A cheerful, energetic girl appears, introducing herself as Lirucaliria, a merchant. Gio is surprised by her size and wonders if she's a puppet, since she's so small for someone working in that field. Gio asks if the girl has some business with him, and she excitedly says yes. She introduces herself as Lirucaliria and explains that she heard many rumors about the delicious food at Lucas' restaurant. After trying it herself, she was very impressed. Gio is happy with the compliment. Lirucaliria explains that she became curious about where the ingredients used in the restaurant came from. So, she started observing the place and ended up discovering Gio. He's surprised and wonders if she was following him all this time. Lirucaliria looks at Gio's simple house and is surprised that such incredible ingredients come from such a common place. She starts to wonder who he really is. Gio, nervous, tries to play it cool and says he's also curious about what she meant. Lirucaliria looks at Gio sharply and comments that all of this seems to involve some kind of special gift. The memory of a warning comes to Gio's mind. Someone once warned him not to go around telling everyone about his power, since he could be exploited. He gets nervous, not knowing how to respond. Lirucaliria starts laughing and admits she was trying to trick Gio into talking. She says he's too easy to read, leaving Gio surprised and suspicious, thinking she seems kind of shady. While eating an apple, Lirucaliria is amazed by the taste and asks if Gio grew it too. He confirms, and she immediately gets excited, saying she wants to do business with him no matter what. Gio is confused, not knowing where this is going. Lirucaliria suggests that, besides selling only to Lucas, Gio could expand his business with her as an intermediary, offering his products to more people in shops. He gets a bit nervous, not knowing how to answer. Sensing this, she tries to reassure him by saying that puppets like her don't do shady business. Gio remembers that puppets have a good reputation, are smart, and avoid trouble. Even so, Lirucaliria suggests signing a magic contract, explaining that it would guarantee secrecy and promises between the two. Gio is surprised, but starts to understand she's trying to make everything safe and professional. Lirucaliria shows the magic contract and says it's a promise not to reveal anything about Gio's gift. Then she asks if they can talk in more detail about this once he signs. Gio thinks about the proposal. Gio remembers how happy he was to see Sifa and the restaurant customers enjoying ingredients from his garden. He thinks it would be great if more people could experience it too. Although he's still a bit insecure, he realizes that with the right contract, everything should work out. Meanwhile, Lirucaliria points out it would be a big advantage to have a professional merchant as an intermediary, since he doesn't know much about the business world. After thinking it through, Gio decides to trust and sign the magic contract. He holds the magic-imbued pen, signs the paper, and confirms his decision. Lirucaliria, excited, thanks him energetically for the trust. With the magic contract sealed, Gio gets excited and says he'll show her his garden. Lirucaliria is surprised to hear this and watches in awe at the magical glow confirming their agreement. Gio activates his garden and surprises Lirucaliria with a bizarre tree full of food. She's startled to see even meat hanging from the branches. Gio explains he doesn't need to plant anything. The crops grow in an hour. He can harvest everything instantly. And there's a huge variety, including vegetables, fruits, and mushrooms. Gio shows a huge pile of fresh vegetables, explaining that at most, he thought his ability just restored freshness or increased the sugar in the crops. Lirucaleria is completely shocked and speechless at everything she sees, still trying to process how absurd that gift is. Lirucaleria watches in shock, whispering to herself that the gift is unbelievable and completely absurd. When Gio asks what she said, she quickly covers it up, changes the subject, and tries to hide how impressed she is. Gio is suspicious for a moment, remembering the strange way she spoke before. He feels it wasn't just surprise. As he tries to convince himself he might be overthinking, he watches Lirucaleria laughing loudly and energetically, saying all this would bring in a lot of money. He thinks she may have a much smarter or even shadier side than she first seemed. Lirucaleria is shocked when Gio reveals he can now also grow fish. She gets startled and screams, "Fish?" but then tries to rationalize, saying that since the garden has meat growing on trees, maybe fish isn't so weird either. Gio then explains that fish don't grow on trees, which only makes things more confusing for her. Until Gio explains that the fish don't grow on trees, but sprout from the ground like mushrooms. Right after, several fish appear from the soil with a bloop sound, leaving Lirucaleria completely speechless, thinking it's all too surreal. Lirucaleria comments that fish are rare in the region where she lives, and that she only knows dried or smoked versions. Gio admits he doesn't really know how to prepare them, so he didn't grow many. But to celebrate the new friendship, she suggests they cook and eat together. As they start preparing the fish, Lirucaleria comments the name is mackerel. Gio explains he learned to handle that type of fish in previous trades involving seafood. He cuts it precisely, impressing the girl. She notices how clean the fillets are and how fresh the fish is. While she cooks, Gio compliments Lirucaleria, saying she knows a lot about it. She explains she's talked to all kinds of people and worked with many different products, besides visiting several cities. He gets excited and says that's amazing. As they talk, Gio comments that he wanted to be an adventurer, but thinks his home garden gift doesn't help much with that. She finishes and excitedly announces the food is ready. Gio is impressed with the finished dishes on the table. Everything looks delicious and is still hot. Without thinking twice, he gets excited and says they should start eating right away. Gio tries the first dish and confirms the name, Meunier. He's excited by the taste, surprised by the softness of the fish, and comments it's totally different from the dried fish he knew. He keeps eating, satisfied and clearly impressed. Gio keeps eating, and is even more surprised by how juicy the fish is. He says the flavor is light but striking. Curious, he asks what Lirucaleria thought of the dish, while she starts to shake, about to answer. Lirucaleria explodes with excitement and shouts that the food is too good. She devours the dish, praising the fatty and sweet taste of the fish, and says the soup is full of umami. Gio is startled by her intense reaction. Lirucaleria is completely melted with happiness over the food, saying the fish cakes and aqua pazza are amazing. She confesses she's never eaten such delicious fish in her life. Gio is shocked by her over-the-top reaction, not knowing what to say. Lirucaleria realizes she spoke too loudly while eating and gets embarrassed knowing Gio heard everything. Desperate, she bows over the table, apologizing, leaving Gio totally confused. Lirucaleria gets embarrassed for letting her accent slip, explaining that's just how she naturally talks. She tries to justify herself, but Gio just laughs and says he's relieved, since everything was really tasty. He tries to reassure her, telling her not to worry about it. Gio compliments the taste of the food and says everything was amazing thanks to Lirucaleria, but she returns the compliment, saying it was because of his fish. The two start exchanging sincere and direct compliments until they fall silent, not knowing who to thank more. The two start laughing after the exchange of compliments, and Lirucaleria comments with a smile that giving and receiving is the basis of good business. Gio agrees, still smiling, and the mood between them is light and friendly. Gio says he wants to increase fish production, and Lirucaleria asks him to call her just Liruca. She analyzes his backyard and explains that if he grows more fish, it'll end up reducing the yield of the other crops. Gio comments that if he had more space, he could expand everything even more. Gio mentions he can harvest food really quickly, so he just needs to be more attentive and replant right after. But in the middle of his sentence, a bunch of crows appears again, scaring them both. Liruca realizes the crows have their eyes on the fish, and Gio confirms seriously. Without hesitation, he grabs a shovel and says not to worry. revealing he already had plans to become an adventurer, before implying he can handle this kind of problem. Geo runs toward the crows with the shovel in hand, confident he can drive them off. But, on the first swing, he misses and the shovel goes flying. Laruka watches everything, surprised. Geo tries to drive the crows off with several swings in the air, but they don't care at all and keep coming. Laruka sees they're not taking the boys seriously. In the end, some crows manage to get the fish, leaving both frustrated. Geo returns all banged up but says he managed to recover what was left of the fish. Laruka worries and suggests maybe it would be better for him to stop raising fish, since it attracts dangerous crows. Even so, she acknowledges his effort and is touched that he did that for her. Geo remembers he learned a new skill earlier that day. He quickly accesses his garden menu and finds the skill he wanted to use, Guardian Creation. Geo confidently responds to the invisible system, accepting to create a guardian. As Laruka watches confused, the ground starts to shake, and something begins to emerge from the earth. The ground starts to move powerfully, and soon a huge golem made of stone and moss rises before Geo and Laruka. The two are shocked to see the giant creature taking shape right in front of them. Geo asks if the golem will really protect the garden. The creature responds by pounding its chest. Without delay, Geo points to the crows and gives the order. He wants the golem to drive them away. Laruka asks what's going on, surprised by the situation. Geo replies that this is also part of his gift. The golem moves toward the crows with strong movements, and soon the birds begin to flee. The golem starts being attacked by several crows at once. They're not fleeing, they're fighting back with everything. Geo watches surprised as the crows throw themselves at the Earth Guardian, which begins to glow with a mysterious light. Geo watches, excited, as he realizes the golem is incredibly tough. Even with so many attacks, it doesn't have a scratch. The Guardian starts spinning powerfully, scaring off the crows with ease. Geo cheers as the golem finishes driving off all the crows easily. He praises the creature, saying it did a great job. Laruka, observing, starts getting thoughtful, worried about how dangerous that kind of power could be if used by someone with bad intentions. Geo, happy with the result, says he can now raise more fish without worry. Laruka smiles slightly, relieved, and simply says, okay, accepting the situation. The golem stands beside Geo, ready to protect the garden. After things calmed down, Laruka went away for a few days on business. With the golem protecting the garden, Geo's peaceful life returned to normal. After a while, Laruka comes back excited, thanking him for the help and saying she has news to share. Laruka reveals that she bought the land behind Geo's house and, with a big smile, says she's going to give him that land. Geo is completely surprised by the news. Geo is shocked by the gift, not believing that Laruka would give something so valuable for free. He tries to say he can't pay for it, but she quickly explains that she's really giving the land as a present and that it'll help her in the future, since she plans to profit from whatever he produces. Laruka smiles confidently and says she believes she can count on Geo. He's surprised by her words, clearly touched by the trust she places in him. Geo returns the smile and says he feels the same about her. They shake hands, both excited and happy with the partnership they're forming. He thanks her and says he's looking forward to working together, and Laruka replies with enthusiasm, saying she is too. Geo shakes Laruka's hand firmly, now sure he can trust her. While she talks about demolishing the old house in the back, Geo looks surprised as he notices something strange starting to glow over there. Geo confirms he wants to turn the new land into a garden, and right after, the fence rebuilds itself. To everyone's surprise, several garden beds appear out of nowhere, leaving Laruka and the golem amazed by the scene. Geo gets excited about the new space, saying now he'll be able to plant a lot of things. Laruka is also thrilled seeing the size of the area. The golem watches everything in silence, while another character is shocked by the amount of coins received and already thinks about hiding it from Sena. A girl arrives surprised to see the backyard, which is now much bigger and full of crops. She's shocked and asks what's going on. In the background, the golem appears watching over everything while she tries to understand how everything changed so quickly. The girl looks at the new crops, amazed, and comments that now there are many more varieties than before. Geo explains that the land was transferred to him, and with that, he managed to greatly expand the types of cultivation. They notice that even fish are growing directly from the soil. Soon after, several meat trees appear, with different types like beef, pork, horse, and chicken. Geo reveals that now he has more golems helping out, since he thought one wouldn't be enough for all the work. Laruka is surprised by the number and jokes that, at this rate, the whole world could turn into his garden. Gio comments that he can only use the lands that belong to him, and at the moment he's using 1,000 out of 25,000 possible plots. He then wonders what the next thing he's going to plant will be, while the golems get excited next to him. Gio realizes that now he can produce medicinal herbs and tells Laruka about it. She's surprised to hear he can even grow aim, a rare plant used in healing potions. He confirms and asks if she knows it, and she says yes, explaining it's an important ingredient. Laruka says that the pharmacy where she usually buys healing potions is out of stock, all because there's no aim. Gio is surprised to learn that the one having trouble is Sifa herself. Laruka explains that Sifa has been complaining about it, since she can't advance in dungeons without potions. Gio thinks that healing potions are essential for dungeon exploration, and concludes that, if he plants Aim, he can really help out. Imagining Sifa with a bottle in her hand, he gets excited about making her happy by producing the ingredient that's missing. Gio quickly picks some herbs and heads towards the potion shop Sena had mentioned. He walks until he stops in front of a big, old house hidden among the trees and wonders if that place is really the right one. Gio feels a bit nervous as he approaches the shop, thinking it looks like an abandoned building. But seeing the open sign, he decides to go in anyway. A little apprehensive, he wonders what kind of person runs such a strange place. He opens the door carefully and enters slowly, announcing his presence. Gio walks in and sees the place is completely empty. He looks around and sees several suspicious potions on the shelves, which only makes him more uneasy. Still trembling a little, he comments that there's nobody there. While Gio is still looking around the empty place, a figure suddenly appears, saying welcome. He gets startled but soon sees it's a girl dressed as a maid named Dennis. Surprised, he apologizes for coming in like that. Gio asks if she works there, and the girl says she's the owner of the shop and the apothecary's assistant. He's confused by the maid outfit and ends up asking about it. Embarrassed, Dennis fumbles, trying to explain, saying she knew it was strange, but got nervous about his reaction. A dark presence appears, scaring both Dennis and Gio. It's Marlene, who shows up wearing a mysterious outfit and carrying several potions. Dennis comments that's her special outfit. Marlene looks at Gio and greets him, saying she's never seen his face before. Gio gets nervous and greets Marlene, still surprised by her appearance, thinking she even looked like a zombie at first. Even so, he admits she fits the place's vibe. Meanwhile, Dennis begs to change clothes, but Marlene refuses, saying those are the owner's orders. Gio thinks maybe Dennis's look is a strategy to attract customers, since the place looks kind of abandoned. He tries to cheer her up by saying the outfit suits her, but that only makes her more embarrassed and upset, as she trembles and says she hates it. Dennis, totally embarrassed, ends up shouting that he's a boy, leaving Gio completely shocked by the revelation. Marlene appears pointing dramatically and interrupts Dennis, firmly saying he's wrong. According to her, he's not just a boy, but a femboy, surprising everyone with the blunt statement. Dennis is shocked by the declaration, trying to insist he's really a boy. Meanwhile, Marlene, totally excited, starts listing his cute features, big eyes, chubby cheeks, and even comments on how good he looks in a maid outfit. In the end, she melts, saying how cute he is, leaving Dennis even more confused. Marlene hugs Dennis affectionately, calling him a natural femboy, while the poor boy struggles to get free, yelling in confusion about what that even means. Gio watches everything in silence, sweating and surprised, just thinking that she's definitely a very peculiar person. Gio thinks about leaving after all the chaos, but Dennis calls him back, asking him to wait. When he stops, a bit embarrassed, Marlene looks from afar with a dramatic air. Dennis then asks if Gio came there for a specific reason. Gio, a little awkward, shows the ingredients he brought and says he heard they were lacking materials for healing potions. When they see it, Dennis and Marlene are surprised. He brought a huge amount of aim, an essential plant for potions. Dennis confirms it's really aim, recognizing it by the shape of the leaves. Marlene looks closer and is impressed by the quality. The leaves are fresh and full of mana, something she'd never seen before. Marlene analyzes the aim plant and realizes that with it, she can make high-level potions. Her special gift lets her identify potion quality just by looking. Dennis and Dennis explain that potions are divided into 3 levels: low, medium, and high. The higher the quality, the higher the value and effects. Dennis surprises them both by handing over a large amount of high-quality aim. Marlene is curious about the origin, but he avoids the question. Dennis, excited, praises the feat, saying the recent weather made gathering difficult. Dennis tries to keep the conversation going, but notices Marlene's intense gaze at him. Confused, he wonders why. not realizing she's clearly jealous about how close he is to the other boy. Dennis, still thinking Marlene is angry, approaches and asks a favor. He wants her to prioritize selling potions to his sister Sena's team. Upon hearing the name, Sifa quickly recognizes Sena and gets excited. To convince Marlene, Dennis says he'll sell the item for a cheaper price. Marlene stays silent for a moment, then agrees to Dennis's request, saying Sifa's group is already a regular customer anyway. But she warns there's also a condition, making Dennis think she wants him to gather more ingredients. Marlene suddenly points dramatically and declares out loud that she's the only one allowed to love Dennis first. The boy in a maid outfit is shocked, not understanding why he got dragged into this, while he awkwardly responds that she can do whatever she wants. As he leaves, Dennis wonders if Marlene got a bad impression of him, but he quickly thinks that at least he can trust her with the potions, and that Sifa will probably be happy with that. Imagining his sister's thanks, he feels warm inside. Dennis walks around laughing to himself, a bit lost in happy thoughts, but ends up attracting the attention of two people who point at him, saying there's a weird guy there. The scene cuts to a lab, where flasks and tubes are being used, showing that something is being prepared. One of the girls talks about how valuable aim is while in the lab. The other girl, dressed as a maid, comments that she should have asked the man to sell more goods to them. Then, she's surprised by the conversation and retorts that it makes no sense for her to be part of the deal. The girl watches the potion dripping into the bottle and is surprised by the quality of the liquid. She realizes it's not something ordinary and wonders where he got that material. Next, she finishes preparing the potion and is shocked by the result. The blonde girl appears excited, asking if the potion made was high level. The other, still surprised by the result, watches the intense shine of the liquid and says she probably created an extraordinary item. The woman gets nervous seeing the potion shine so much and decides she needs to dilute it before leaving the shop. Meanwhile, outside, a cheerful girl runs to her brother, showing several healing potions she got at a really good price. He realizes she must have sold some medicinal herbs to the shop. The boy says excitedly that Sifa was very happy and wants to thank him somehow. He even wonders if that means a date. The girl replies more reservedly, saying now they'll be able to go on longer adventures. When he calls her a rookie, she gets irritated and tries to defend herself, saying she's strong and helps in dungeons, but he just asks her not to cause trouble for Sifa. As they move through the cave, the girl senses the presence of a monster ahead and warns her group. They get ready, and soon come across a huge monstrous bear roaring. One of them says to keep moving while the girl faces the creature, surprised by its size. The girl gets ready to attack, but her companion moves first and says he'll cover her. The monster bear senses something strange and falters for a moment. Next, the girl takes the opening and rushes in for the attack. The girl lands a precise hit on the bear, which falls to the ground, defeated. She sighs in relief as the others congratulate her. They say she took down that fierce bear like it was nothing, and praise her for the great job. The girl thanks her companions, saying she only succeeded because of their gifts. One of them praises Sena, saying she's amazing, while showing her hunter's nose gift, which senses living beings. The other, more reserved, comments that she barely even needs to activate her gift, Empress's authority, which strengthens allies and weakens enemies. As they go deeper into the cave, one of them comments in surprise about how fast they're progressing. Another says it's probably thanks to the blessing of the god of the sword. They also recognize the importance of healing potions, and that going further without them would be risky. Finally, they thank Gio for his help, since he was essential for them to continue in the dungeon. While walking, one of them commented about the herbs Gio sold and how her brother was all smiles about it. Suddenly, Sena interrupts and tells everyone to stop. She senses the presence of two creatures ahead, with heavy, weak breathing, and warns that there's something else deeper in the cave. Sena runs through the tunnel and realizes what she sensed were probably two injured people. Getting closer, she and the group find two adventurers collapsed on the ground, unconscious and in bad shape. The girls rush to the injured adventurers. One can barely breathe. Sena approaches and asks if they're okay, while the blonde notices the wounds are severe. They decide to treat them quickly, starting with healing potions to stabilize them. While one of the girls panics, worried if the potions will be enough, Sena notices something strange. Another monstrous bear appears from the shadows, approaching quietly. Before she can react, one of her companions screams desperately, "Sena, behind you!" Sena spins around quickly and finds three giant bears approaching. She's shocked to realize they're probably companions of the monster they defeated before. With sword in hand, she gets ready to face the new danger. Sena realizes the adventurer's wounds were caused by those bears. She blames herself for getting distracted, but quickly takes charge. She tells the others to care for the injured while she holds off the monsters. She knows she could take on one alone, but protecting the others at the same time will be tough. Even so, she gets ready to fight. Sena senses more creatures approaching fast. Scared, she warns that several presences are coming from the monster's direction. The short-haired girl panics, thinking there are more enemies, but Sena notices something odd and says those presences are different. A group of archers appears and, on a woman's command, they all fire at once. The arrows hit one of the bears directly, making it roar in pain. The surprise attack has a big impact and completely changes the combat. The reinforcements' arrival surprises Sena. Meanwhile, the blonde girl activates her Empress's authority skill, making her body lighter. With the power in effect, allies get stronger and ready to turn the fight against the monsters. Sena faces one of the bears coming at her. Without hesitation, she yells for them to leave that one to her. With sword in hand, she prepares for battle while the monster stares her down. At the moment of impact, the metallic sound of the clash echoes as the monster's claws meet her blade. Sena narrowly dodges the bear's claws, which tear through the air with force. She stands before the creature, sword in hand, ready to strike back as she carefully watches the enemy's every move. Sena spins her sword powerfully, getting ready for the final attack. With her eyes fixed on the enemy, she takes a deep breath, focuses her strength, and with a determined shout, charges forward saying, "Ready, go." Sena drives the sword hard into the bear's body, landing the finishing blow. The creature staggers and falls with a thud. Relieved, she celebrates saying she did it, and thanks someone in her mind for the strength they gave her at that moment. The girls run to the wounded and thank Eliza for arriving just in time and saving everyone. She recognizes Sifa's group and looks at the fallen adventurers, realizing how serious the injuries are. Eliza concludes that they'll need several mid-level potions to heal them fully. Eliza orders that they also bring their own potions, while other team members rush to help. Sena watches worried and thinks that, even with a high-level potion, those wounds may be hard to heal. The scene shows one of the potions glowing intensely, about to be used. Sena applies the shining potion to one of the wounded adventurers, and immediately his body begins to shine brightly. Everyone around reacts in surprise to the effect, especially Sena, who watches in shock at the unexpected healing power. The girls watch in silence as the adventurer's body begins to glow intensely. He's still unconscious, but his wounds slowly close up. One of them, surprised by the effect, realizes it was way beyond normal. The adventurers begin to regain consciousness, surprising everyone. Sena watches in awe as she sees their wounds have completely disappeared. Impressed, everyone confirms that they're totally healed. The potions run out, but the injured are already fully recovered. Surprised and emotional, they thank them enthusiastically. Eliza asks if they got separated from their companions, and if they want to join the search. One accepts immediately, relieved to be safe. Before they part ways, Eliza reveals that the potions used weren't just high level, but extraordinary grade. The girls are shocked to hear this. As Eliza's group continues deeper into the cave, she turns back and calls Sena to say something else. Eliza asks where the potions came from. A bit nervous, Sena says they were from an apothecary named Marlene. Eliza smiles, praises the woman's skill, and says she'll remember that name. She then heads back into the cave with her group. As they watch Eliza leave, one of the girls comments in awe how amazing she is. Another says she's worked with Eliza on a mission before, and praises B-rank adventurers, saying they're always reliable. They also mention that Eliza often changes groups, but is always surrounded by skilled warriors, making her a pretty mysterious person. As they walk, the girl changes the subject and draws attention to the extraordinary potion they used. She lifts it excitedly, saying they need to talk about it. The other two stop and watch closely, curious about what she's going to say. The girls look at the potion as they talk. One of them says she's never heard of an extraordinary grade potion. Another analyzes its absurd effectiveness, able to heal fatal wounds, and concludes it couldn't be just a high-level potion. Sena then says she can only think of one possible explanation for this. Sena states with certainty that the reason the potions are so powerful is the herb garden cultivated by Gio. The scene shows him calmly picking plants in a well-kept, lively garden. Gio arrives with a basket full and is greeted happily. The girl runs to him, excited, and thanks him energetically. She says the fame of the potions has grown a lot, and that it's all possible thanks to the herbs he grows. Sena comments excitedly that the potion healed someone badly injured instantly. Gio is surprised and says he just wanted to please Sifa and never thought it would be so useful. Happy, He says he got so excited he brought a lot more herbs than usual. Gio arrives with more herbs but is greeted by a sharp look from Marlene, making him nervous. The attendant is happy with the delivery and excitedly tells Marlene, while Gio thinks she's staring at him again. Marlene looks at Gio with a slight smile and says many people were saved thanks to his herbs. Gio is surprised by the recognition but tries to downplay it, saying it's no big deal. He comments that it's still impressive how high the effectiveness is, even when selling a diluted version because of the plant's absurd quality. Gio explains he just picked the herbs and couldn't make the potion himself. Dennis confirms, saying he's right. Sena, with an excited smile, praises Marlene and says she's amazing too. Marlene is visibly touched by his words, surprised and emotional. Marlene holds Gio's hands, crying with joy and saying it's all thanks to him. Gio, a bit awkward, says he'll bring more soon. A girl appears excited, showing off a bunch of magic stones she got. She says they made great progress in adventures thanks to the healing potions. Gio, surprised to see the stones already used, thinks about how he never imagined IM would be so useful. Gio is surprised to receive several progress notifications. He leveled up, learned new skills, and can now grow new types of plants. Excited about the news, he comes across something unexpected, a small monster egg. This leaves him shocked and confused, not really sure what's coming. Even without being sure if it's a good idea, Gio ends up giving in to curiosity and plants the monster egg. Right after that, the soil starts to swell up, and in a few seconds, a strange round fruit appears with a poof. Gio watches amazed as the huge egg grows from the plant. Even being called small, he finds it pretty big. Curious and a little nervous, he starts to wonder if some kind of monster will come out, since it's an egg, and the silence only makes everything more tense. Gio thinks while holding the giant egg, wondering if it's right to try raising a baby monster. Even though he already has a garden where golems are born as a skill, he feels unsure. The egg grew normally, but he's still worried. Next to him, one of the golems looks curiously and pokes the egg, also not sure what to expect. Gio decides to leave the egg in the garden for now. Soon after, Laruka shows up excited to collect the harvest and asks if the famous potions have anything to do with him. When he confirms, she's surprised and compliments him, saying he never disappoints. Gio mentions that several valuable herbs are sprouting and says Laruka can sell them however she wants. Then, he changes the subject and asks if she's ever dealt with monsters. She says yes, but only with ingredients from defeated monsters. When Gio tries to be more direct and asks about live monsters or eggs, Laruka gets confused and says she's never seen anything like that. Laruka explains that selling live monsters is really rare, because monsters are naturally wild. According to her, they can't live together with humans. Gio listens, a bit surprised and quiet. Gio is surprised to hear that nobody wants to raise or live with monsters, so there's not even a market for them. Laruka laughs like it's obvious and says goodbye. Alone, Gio looks at the egg thoughtfully and quietly repeats that monsters can't live with humans. Gio starts to wonder if he could defeat a monster if something went wrong. He decides that maybe the best thing is not to let the egg hatch, but at that moment, the egg starts to shake by itself. Gio is startled to see the egg moving on its own. He confirms it really shook and gets surprised, staring at the egg with his heart racing, not knowing what to expect. Gio sits outside with the egg in his arms as the sun begins to set. Sena hasn't come back yet, and he says this out loud. Even with the uncertainty, he realizes the egg in his arms gives off a warm and pleasant feeling. Sena thanks him for the food with a smile, saying it was delicious. Gio walks with her and asks how her day was. She says she fought another monster, as usual. While he tends the garden, he asks if monsters are always that fierce, casting a thoughtful look at her. Sena confirms monsters are dangerous, remembering the case of adventurers who nearly died but were saved by his potions. Gio is startled by the description, and as he walks beside her, he thinks maybe humans and monsters really can't live together. Sena, smiling next to one of the golems, says maybe there are cool monsters like them. She says she wishes she could make friends with one, and even considers taking one home, to be part of the family and keep company while she's away. Gio is surprised by the idea. Gio gives a slight smile, and says he doesn't even feel that lonely. Sena, surprised, asks if he's serious. He then teases her, saying that even when she's home, all she does is be lazy. She stays down there with the golem while he watches from above. Gio walks to the garden with the egg in his arms, thinking he's not alone, even if his parents are gone, and Sena is now an adventurer. He sits down, gently strokes the egg, and asks if it's okay today. The egg trembles lightly in response. The egg glows and reacts to Gio's touch, surprising and exciting him with the response. With a determined smile, he makes his decision. He's going to hatch the egg and raise the monster. Gio decides he'll take care of the creature when it's born, and already starts getting ready, planning to plant something it can eat. As he imagines what the monster will be like and even thinks of names, he notices the egg has been trembling more and more. He ends the day excited, thinking the hatching might be close. Gio realizes something is wrong when he touches the egg. It's cold. Panicking, he tries to talk to the egg, worried because it was always warm before. The silence scares him, and he feels that if he doesn't do something quickly, the baby inside the egg will die. Gio runs desperately and wraps the egg with several blankets, trying to warm it up. He watches anxiously until he finally feels the heat coming back. Relieved, he notices the temperature has returned to normal and starts stroking the egg carefully. During the night, the egg starts to shake and slowly crack. Gio wakes up startled and gets up quickly, watching in surprise as the cracks spread. The moment of birth has finally come. Gio panics when he sees the egg about to hatch. Not knowing whether to help or wait, he crouches next to the egg, anxious. When he sees the cracks growing, he starts to cheer and encourage. Just a little more, you can do it. The egg finally breaks, and among the pieces of shell appears a furry creature that looks like a kitten. Gio watches surprised as the little being gives its first meow, falling gently to the ground. Gio is amazed to see that the egg has hatched. In front of him is a cute creature that looks even more like a kitten. He approaches, worried about the little one being weak, not understanding how something like that could be a monster. Gio suddenly remembers a special tree in his garden. He runs there and picks one of the fruits that seem to contain milk, thinking it might be nutritious for the little one. Gio tries the fruit's milk and is surprised by the taste and strong smell, but soon remembers that the important thing is to feed the kitten. He offers the bowl to the little one, who starts licking the milk excitedly, letting out a weak meow. Gio watches, relieved. The kitten starts drinking the milk with a lot of energy, letting out happy meows. Gio sighs with relief to see it worked, and mentally thanks for having a garden with such useful and nutritious food. Gio strokes the little kitten and tells him to drink a lot and grow strong. He warns not to drink everything at once, or he'll get a stomachache. The little creature meows and happily rubs against his hand, already showing affection for its new owner. Gio is delighted with the kitten in his arms, praising how cute, soft, and affectionate it is. He pets it with a huge smile, completely melted by the scene. Gio realizes he needs to name the little one. He thinks that if it's just a cat, there's no problem taking care of it as a pet. Looking at its white fur, he starts considering names like Snow or Ice. While the little one drinks milk excitedly, it walks up to the boy with small steps. Gio watches and suddenly has an idea, opening a big smile as he exclaims, "Oh!" Gio points excitedly and says with a smile, "Milk! Your name is going to be Milk." The little monster meows curiously, as if trying to understand, but seems to like the choice. Gio gets home excited, holding the little one in his arms, and says he's back. Sena, surprised to see the little monster, asks what that is. He smiles and says he decided to adopt it. Sena comes closer, charmed, asking if it's a cat and where he found it. Gio answers, "Sort of," and thinks it's better to hide for now that it was born from a monster egg. When Sena tries to pick up the kitten, it bites her hand mercilessly, making her scream in pain. Sena complains that she was bitten, but Gio says it was her fault for messing with the kitten's head. While the little one growls, Sena gets jealous, cries, and says her brother cares more about the cat than her. Gio tries to calm Milk down and finds his sister's overreaction funny. Sena glares angrily at the kitten, thinking it wants to take her place as Gio's little sister. She declares herself the only real sister. Gio interrupts, revealing that Milk is male, which makes Sena even more annoyed. Gio serves dinner and gives a bowl of milk to Milk as well. Sena sees the fruits and asks if the milk came from the garden, saying she wants some too. While she drinks happily, the kitten starts drinking its share as well. Sena and the kitten drink the milk with pleasure, praising its sweet and delicious taste. Gio watches the two, happy and impressed that he can harvest something so good right from his own garden. While everyone has dinner together, Gio watches the excited kitten and thinks, smiling, that he never imagined he would end up gaining a new family member from that garden. Gio goes out to deliver herbs and thinks about how much his family has grown. This makes him feel even more fulfilled growing and delivering what he plants. When he arrives, he greets the girls and says he brought extra herbs this time. The girls are surprised by the variety of herbs Gio brought. He asks if any of them would be useful, and one replies that all of them are rare. Noticing a specific herb, she's even more impressed because it's her first time seeing real chili grass. The woman gets excited about the herbs and says she can make an ice potion with them. Gio asks curiously about that, and she explains that when you drink the potion, your body gets cold and you gain resistance against fire and heat. Another girl adds that potion effects change depending on the ingredients. Gio asks if the ice potions are good for adventures. The woman says yes, and that with one of those, it's possible to challenge even the most isolated area of the dungeon. The scene suddenly changes to an environment full of lava and intense heat. Gio observes the place carefully and says out loud, "The volcanic area." The girls move through a tunnel, sweating a lot. One complains about the heat, saying she'll dry out from sweating so much. Another explains it's because the volcanic area is just ahead. As they continue exploring, one girl comments on the new area. She explains that until now they were in the cave area, but from there on it's the volcanic area. She also mentions the dungeon is made up of several connected zones: forest, ruins, underwater, and others. They mention the dungeon has 5 different areas, each with unique environments and creatures. The underwater area is the hardest, and nobody has ever conquered it. The volcanic area, which they're about to face, is the second harshest few groups have tried, and almost nobody has conquered it. They explain that conquerors are those who defeat the boss of an area. Defeating these bosses gives valuable rewards and rare items, which can be sold for a good price. Also, whoever conquers an area becomes quite famous. Then one of the girls asks if they'll also face the boss, but she's not sure if they could beat it. One of the girls comments that exploring the volcanic area will be tough without equipment resistant to heat, since they can't even use water magic. Another suggests maybe it's better to go home for today. Sifa, rummaging through her bag, shows them something that catches their attention. Sifa shows a shiny, bluish potion that looks like ice. The girls are surprised they've never seen one that color before. She explains she got it as a sample from Marlene, and that it's an ice potion. They say that whoever drinks it gains resistance to heat and fire. One girl reacts in disbelief, doubting something like that really exists. The girls are surprised to hear Marlene gave out several potions for field testing. One asks if that means they can already enter the volcanic area. The answer comes right after. Marlene managed to make the potions because she got a rare ingredient, the chili grass. When they hear that, the girls instantly realize who was responsible. Gio appears with a tray full of plants and says he sold them to her. One of the girls gets annoyed, saying now she can't even go back home. Sifa decides to try the potion. As soon as she drinks it, she feels the super cold liquid and is surprised by the sensation. The other two are also impressed by the intense cold, and one even gets brain freeze from how cold it is. With that, Sifa gives the signal, and the group sets out, excited, towards the volcanic area. The group finally enters the volcanic area. The environment changes completely. The ground is cracked, the heat is intense, and there are vapors rising everywhere. They walk carefully, watching the pools of lava spread along the way. Sifa comments that this is a scorching land, and another girl agrees, surprised by all the lava around. The tension rises. The real challenge is just beginning. Even with the extreme heat of the volcanic area, one of the girls feels surprisingly fine, saying she feels refreshed. They keep walking and realize the potion really works. The heat doesn't bother them anymore. One even gets close to the lava, and another quickly warns not to touch it, since falling in would still be dangerous. Even so, they can now move forward more safely. While the group is walking through the scorching terrain of the volcanic area, 3 dogs surrounded by flames appear, running toward them. One of the girls notices the danger and warns the others about the monsters approaching. The girls realize the monsters are flaming dogs. One of them warns that they're stronger than anything they've faced so far. Without hesitation, one of the warriors prepares for battle, drawing her sword firmly. The girl advances with her sword, focusing all her strength in a precise strike. The blow hits one of the flaming dogs straight on, making it howl in pain as it's struck by the blade. The girl easily defeats the monster, and finds it strange that it was so weak. Apparently, the strike weakened the flames. The other girls watch in surprise, thinking it might be the effect of the ice potion she took. The girls realize the potion's effects last quite a while, which excites the group. One says that as long as they have the potion, they can keep exploring. So, excited, they decide to conquer the entire volcanic area. Gio appears with a bunch of chili grass he harvested, all excited. He says he managed to gather a lot that day. The girl thanks him with a smile, and he hopes it helps Sifa with her adventures. Gio decides to test some skills and crops he hasn't used yet. He activates a function called Defensive Wall, which seems to be an upgraded version of the protective fence. A noise starts, and suddenly a huge defensive wall appears, leaving him surprised. Right after activating the skill, Gio sees huge walls rising around his house and garden. He's completely shocked to realize it's not just a simple barrier. The skill created a real fortress around the place. Gio feels uncomfortable with the wall's exaggerated size and decides to undo it. He activates the next skill called Conceal Garden, agreeing to hide the garden. When he sees everything back to normal, he's relieved but still unsure how he'll use something so over the top in the future. Gio activates the skill to hide the garden but finds the result strange. Everything around looks the same, and he comments that usually changes are instant. Looking around, he wonders if nothing really happened. Gio decides to check the new crops but notices the list only shows the same ones from when he started. He finds it odd, but when he's about to move on, something catches his eye, and he opens his eyes wide in surprise. Gio realizes that now all crops are marked as high quality, unlike before, when they were just average. He gets excited, remembering that even the average ones were really tasty, and gets pumped about how good the new ones might taste. Sifa walks home exhausted after exploring the volcanic area. She thinks about how tiring everything was and just wants to fall into bed. But as she gets closer, something catches her attention, making her stop suddenly. Sifa is shocked to see the house and garden completely different, not understanding anything. She runs, calling for her brother and the cat Milk, asking what happened. Gio appears calm, not understanding her reaction, saying nothing changed. But for Sifa, everything there looks completely new. Sifa is in shock when she sees everything around her has disappeared. The house and garden she knew have simply vanished. She screams in desperation, saying there's nothing there, while looking at the completely empty space. Gio realizes the house is still there, just hidden by his skill. He explains to Sifa he was just testing his abilities. When he removes the disguise, everything returns to normal, but he concludes he can't use this power often, or the neighbors will find it weird to see the house vanishing and reappearing out of nowhere. Sifa shows up, totally exhausted, complaining she almost had to sleep outside. She says she had to go back to the volcanic area several times. Gio confirms he sold more herbs to Marlene and that she works fast. Seeing the situation, he thinks he can only deliver the herbs and then support Sifa. Then he has an idea. Gio suggests making a banquet as soon as Sifa reaches the next stage of her adventure. Hearing this, she gets excited, her eyes sparkling, and repeats, "A banquet?" Sifa gets excited with the idea of a banquet and says she wants to do it right now. Gio asks her not to rush, saying he wants to invite Sifa and Annie in a special way, so he'll need time to prepare since he has an ace up his sleeve. Sifa, excited about the promised reward, gets even more motivated. The girls are exploring a cave. Sifa drinks a potion while Annie looks at the map, and Sifa looks around, excited. In another scene, they get more potions from a woman at the shop. Then they continue exploring, find glowing crystals, and Sifa is seen carrying a huge block of ore, showing that the gathering was heavy. During the exploration, Sifa reacts quickly and lands a strong blow on a creature, sending it flying. Later, the group finds an open area and seems to prepare for something bigger. Then, already back home, Sifa is seen sleeping peacefully while the boy covers her with a blanket. The last scene shows a dark, deep part of the cave, with a threatening roar echoing. The group finds the creature they were expecting, the boss of the volcanic area, known as Volcano, leader of the Red Lizardmen. He appears imposing, with a threatening look, while the girls watch seriously, getting ready for the fight. The girls get tense when they see the boss enemy, and Sifa is startled by his size and tough scales. Annie warns that there are no records of anyone defeating this enemy in recent years, making it clear he's the strongest they've ever faced. Even so, she decides they'll fight. With Sena as the key to the strategy, they'll join forces to defeat him. The girls get ready for the fight. One of them takes an ice potion and comments there's no other choice. Another remembers they'll have a banquet waiting after victory. Meanwhile, the leader organizes everything, making sure there are enough potions for everyone, and asking them to buff up before the battle. The girls finish the preparations. One activates her magic sword, while another drinks the last potion. In silence, they exchange a determined look and nod quickly. They were ready for battle. The battle starts. One of the girls activates her support ability to strengthen the group and weaken the enemies. Another runs in with her sword, determined to attack with everything. The boss of the volcanic area roars with fury and charges. The girls get ready, focused and alert, swords in hand. Sena charges with a quick slash, dodging the monster's attack by a hair. The boss growls angrily, still standing. The fight heats up, and her companions warn her to be careful. Sena faces the boss head-on, but notices he's being cautious. Another girl sees that the monster seems to recognize Sena's strength, which might make a direct approach harder. The girl hides among the rocks, saying she's completely hidden. Even though her hunter's instincts aren't ideal for direct combat, she prepares firmly, watching the enemy as she waits for the right moment to act. At the exact moment the boss charges full force, Sena gives the signal firmly. The two exchange a quick, determined look, showing the plan is in action. The girl stretches out her hand and activates a powerful ability, ordering the boss to bow down. The monster, caught off guard, starts to lose his balance under the spell's pressure. Taking advantage of the opening, Annie jumps precisely and lands a direct hit on the enemy, making the monster roar in pain. The other two watch in surprise, while Sena shouts Annie's name, impressed by the attack. Annie steps back smiling, surprised her blow did real damage. She realizes the ice potion gave her a huge boost and gets excited about the result. The girls celebrate the success of their teamwork. Annie and Sifa high-five, excited about their synchronicity. But the celebration is short. The boss gets up, panting, still ready to fight. Sifa gives the signal and says now they'll go all out. The three get ready, determined, swords in hand and ready to finish the boss off. The girls enter the guild building and are greeted by the receptionist, Canalia. She greets Sifa and comments about the group's new member. Sifa confirms and introduces Sena as their childhood friend. Sena starts thinking about food and ends up drooling, making Sifa comment. The receptionist observes and thinks she doesn't look very strong. Canalia admits Sifa is powerful, but says dungeon exploring is still tough for her, since she's learning bit by bit. The girls say they only came to hand in the mission report today. Sena puts a huge scale on the table. Canalia is surprised by the size and asks if that's really a scale. Sena confirms and says it's from Volcano, the monster they fought. Sifa hands in the mission report and says they defeated Volcano. Canalia is shocked and yells in disbelief, attracting everyone's attention. The revelation surprises everyone around. Canalia is shocked to learn they really defeated Volcano, but Sifa confirms and shows the scale as proof. Sena and Annie laugh at her over-the-top reaction. Canalia asks if they had help from another group, since the scale is way bigger than normal for a red lizardman. All three confirm they defeated the boss alone, leaving Canalia totally surprised. A man from the team says the boss's body was left behind and they'll need help recovering it. Canalia panics but starts planning to send a team with heat-resistant equipment because of the volcanic area. Annie reassures the receptionist, saying there's no need to worry about the heat. She reveals with a smile that they have ice potions that make even the volcanic area feel nice, allowing anyone to explore it. Canalia reacts, shocked by yet another surprise. Canalia is left totally confused, trying to understand the situation. She repeats, shocked, that the boss of the volcanic area was beaten by a group of young girls with the help of a potion she didn't even know existed. Desperate and not knowing how to deal with the absurd situation, Canalia panics and starts sweating. She yells for the guild leader, while the others watch, not really understanding what's going on. The recovery group reaches the volcanic area and is surprised by the potion's effect. The heat doesn't bother them at all. They're amazed that something like this exists. Even so, Sena explains they had to leave the monster's body behind. She thanks them for their help recovering it and says they'll guide the way. As they go to recover the monster's body, one of the adventurers remembers that the boss called Volcano was known for never being defeated. She looks at a record card with his history and wonders if those girls really managed to beat him. Then, Sena points to the place and says the body is right up ahead. The support group arrives at the place and is shocked to see the gigantic body of Volcano lying on the ground. One of the men, surprised, confirms out loud that it was true they really defeated the boss. As they analyze the monster's body, the men confirm that it really is Volcano. One of them is impressed because the body barely has any marks, which is rare for battles of this level. Another observes that the scales, which are usually super tough, were cut easily. Everyone is left without understanding how this was possible, and one of them questions who could have made such a clean cut. The men try to guess who could have made such a precise cut. First, they think it was Sifa, since she's rank B, but she denies it. Then they look at Annie, who also says she doesn't have that much sword skill. They laugh, doubting that such a young girl could have managed something like that, but soon realize there's only one possibility left. The girl introduces herself with a confident smile and says it was her who defeated the boss. The adventurers are shocked by the revelation, not believing that someone so cute and cheerful looking was the one who defeated such a powerful enemy. The girl appears with a bunch of magic stones, surprising the boy with the amount. She casually comments that she defeated the area boss, and that everyone was shocked about it. The girl asks for compliments and says she also received a big reward. Meanwhile, the cat Milk appears wanting attention, and the boy starts petting him, saying that just having the cat around is already refreshing. The girl gets sulky, saying she should refresh him too just for being there, but complains that the cat didn't do anything to deserve it. The boy notices that Milk has grown a lot in just a few days, surprised by his size. The girl is also startled, and things get a bit awkward. Trying to change the subject, the boy excitedly suggests they use the magic stones to improve the garden. The boy levels up and gains a new skill called Travel Between, but he doesn't really understand what it does. Meanwhile, he discovers he can now grow new types of crops and starts imagining excitedly what he'll be able to harvest while checking out some ores. The boy finds a list with several mid-quality ores now available to him, like gold, silver, iron, amethyst, and others. When he sees gold ore, he gets excited, surprised by the new possibilities. The boy sees something written as home garden and decides to ignore it, pretending he didn't see anything. The girl asks if everything is okay and he says yes, changing the subject. Right after that, she says she'll take a break from adventuring starting the next day. The boy suggests calling Sifa and Annie to come to his house. His little sister gets excited and asks if it's what she's thinking. He confirms, saying they are his ace in the hole. A big meal is prepared to celebrate the victory against the guy from the whatever area. The table is full of special dishes and the woman who made everything proudly presents the feast. The girls are impressed with the feast on the table. Annie says it looks delicious, and Sifa comments that it's an amazing meal. Alicia, who cooked everything with Lucas's help, explains that the ingredients came straight from his garden. Sifa thanks for everything while Alicia says they can eat as much as they want. Annie celebrates excitedly and everyone toasts together, celebrating the victory in the volcano area. The girls are impressed with the burger on the grill, which looks delicious. Annie can't hide her excitement and can barely wait to eat, while Sifa comments that just looking at it makes her mouth water. The girls freeze and stare at something shining that appeared suddenly. The mood changes and silence falls over the table, leaving the boy confused by their reaction. The boy is confused by everyone's reaction, thinking the food might be bad. But one of the girls, shocked with shining eyes, answers that it's actually the opposite. The food is amazing. The girl starts devouring her plate with a look of pure ecstasy, saying it's so good she could faint. Everyone is surprised by her reaction, and right after, she keeps eating non-stop, saying it's so delicious she can't control herself. The girls keep getting totally addicted to the food, one already asking for seconds, and another saying she wants to eat that forever. The situation gets out of control, and the boy tries to calm them down, telling them to control themselves, but nobody seems to listen. The boy realizes why everyone is addicted. The high-quality ingredients are dangerously good. Meanwhile, the girl keeps eating happily, praising the soft meat and crispy onions, now made with mid-quality ingredients, but still very tasty. The girls keep praising the food made with medium ingredients, saying the meat is juicy and delicious. The protagonist gets nervous, thinking the high-quality ingredients were so good they could cause wars. He decides to seal them away to avoid trouble, while the girls are still amazed at how everything was just too good. One of the girls thanks Gio with a smile, saying she was really happy to get such a good reward. He answers humbly, saying it was nothing and it's the least he could do, since she's taken good care of Sena. While eating, one of the girls praises Sena, saying she's very talented. Another adds they could only beat the volcanic area so quickly because of her. Sena gets excited, boasting and reminding her brother he also helped. He's surprised, thinks maybe he underestimated her powers. While watching the girls having fun at the meal, the boy thinks there's something he can do for them now. Still, he admits to himself he feels a bit jealous. While Gio is still thinking silently, Sifa stands up, calls his name, and looks at him. She says she's extremely grateful, not just for Sena but for him too. Sincerely, she admits that without his ice potions, they wouldn't have been able to face the volcanic area or defeat the boss. Sifa looks at Gio with a calm smile and says he has a lot of power too. He listens, surprised, still holding his plate, while her words seem to touch him deeply. Sena watches everything from afar, her eyes shining. The girls start listing how important Gio was. He got the potions, gave all the support during the adventure, and helped a lot as they advanced in the dungeon. Sifa suggests he sits and rests, that now she'll take care of the rest. Gio listens to everything, a bit surprised, but gives a slight smile, feeling appreciated. Gio looks around the table, sees everyone happy and raising their glasses, toasting together. Even without going on the adventure, he realizes he was part of the victory. He smiles, raises his glass, and says, "Okay." Deep down, he thinks that somehow, he ended up being part of the group. The girls are completely full after the meal. One of them thanks with a smile, and another says she can't eat another bite. Gio watches the scene satisfied, while Sifa comments that, judging by how much everyone ate, the food must have been really good. He thanks Alicia for helping with everything. The girls confirm they're going to take a break from adventures for a while. One of them happily says she'll sleep a lot, while another offers to help at the restaurant, making Gio and Alicia happy. Gio then watches Sifa leaving with Sena and wonders what she plans to do. Before leaving, Sifa says goodbye and that she'll see them next time. Sifa holds Gio's arm, getting his attention. He turns, surprised, and asks what happened. With a serious and calm look, she squeezes his hand firmly and says she wants to sincerely thank him. Gio is surprised by Sifa's thanks and starts to wonder if she really likes him. With his heart racing, he tries to understand the situation as she thanks him for the food and the potions. Sifa, a bit shy, asks if they could go out together the next day. Gio goes into shock, his heart pounding, thinking she's inviting him on a date. Gio appears all dressed up and confident, fixing his tie with a sparkle in his eye. His sister, still sleepy, asks if he's going out and comments that he looks really elegant. Gio just confirms with a smile. Gio says goodbye to the cat named Milk and asks Sena to take care of him that day. Then, he heads out confidently, saying he might not even come back until the end of the day. Gio walks around town excited, happy that he's going to spend the day alone with Sifa. He imagines the two of them in beautiful places, with a romantic atmosphere, already getting mentally ready for a real date. Gio can barely contain his excitement, imagining the perfect date. When he sees Sifa up ahead, she greets him with a good morning, getting his attention. Gio arrives a bit nervous and asks if she waited long, but Sifa says she just got there. He tries to sound natural, asking where she'd like to go, and is surprised when she says she's already thought about it. Inside, he's freaking out, thinking it all feels just like a real date. Sifa says she's already decided where to go, and asks him to leave everything to her, since that day is to thank him for what he did. Gio is surprised by her determination, and can only reply with a "really?" Gio can hardly hide his happiness, super excited that Sifa has prepared a special day just for him. The two start walking together, and he's sure that day is going to be amazing. Gio and Sifa arrive in front of a somewhat gloomy house, surrounded by trees and with a very different vibe. Sifa says this is the place, and Gio immediately recognizes it. It's Marlene's pharmacy. He's a bit confused about why they're there, but Sifa goes straight to the door and calls for someone. Marlene welcomes them with a cheerful smile, asking if it's just the two of them today, thinking it's rare. She even jokes, asking if they're on a date, making them both embarrassed. Sifa says they're just looking, and they go in while Marlene watches them with her usual curious look. Gio starts to feel awkward. Marlene looks at him with an expression that seems to say, "There's no way this is a date." Sifa silently checks the shop items, looking very serious. Gio is confused, thinking about what exactly the two of them are doing there together, while staring at the strange bottles and admitting to himself that the place has no date vibes at all. Gio thinks to himself that he's already happy just spending time with Sifa, but wonders what she's thinking. While he's lost in thought, Sifa turns to him, looks straight at him, and calmly asks, "Gio, are you having fun?" This catches him off guard. Gio answers, a bit nervous, that he is having fun, but soon realizes he wasn't even paying attention to the products and was just staring at Sifa the whole time. She just replies, "Good," and keeps walking. They leave the shop, and Gio remains confused about everything. When they arrive at the next place, he looks at the room full of armor and equipment and thinks in desperation, "I knew it. This has nothing to do with a date either." Gio starts to suspect the places they're visiting don't seem anything like a normal date, since Sifa just looks at things in silence. Even so, he tries to enjoy himself. She asks if he's having fun, and he answers, a bit lost but honest. While Gio thinks that normal dates involve stylish clothing stores, Sifa appears changing clothes and asks which look he likes best. He's surprised and speechless, clearly not expecting that. They go to another store, this time for equipment. The owner welcomes them warmly, saying he has new items and asks if Gio wants to try anything. Sifa appears in two different outfits, one light and the other fully armored. Gio is impressed by her look and says she seems really strong, but also wonders if it's a bit too much. Gio is completely lost while trying to give an opinion. Sifa asks which outfit looks better, and he says he prefers the lighter one, but kind of hints it doesn't really suit her. He panics, trying to explain himself while thinking there's no safe place to look. Gio, all embarrassed, tries to explain he likes her better in her usual clothes. Meanwhile, Sifa shows up in an even bolder outfit, making him even more nervous. After hearing the compliment, she just reacts with a little, "Oh," surprised and a bit red-faced. Gio asks if Sifa didn't want to buy anything, but she says no. Then, they arrive in front of the Adventurers Guild, and he panics inside, thinking this has nothing to do with a date. Gio is surprised to realize how well-known Sifa is there, with several people recognizing her as a rank B adventurer. He thinks about being on a date with someone so famous, but tries to focus while Sifa stays serious next to him. Gio and Sifa go down to the training area, where an instructor is giving a tough scolding to a student, saying if he keeps it up, he'll end up being eaten by a monster. Gio watches tensely, while Sifa remains calm. While some people train with swords and bows, a man sits in a corner, looking frustrated and down. Sifa silently watches the scene, just paying close attention to everything. Gio watches the people training and starts wondering if this can really be called a date. He gets down, while Sifa remains serious as always. Gio has a crisis, thinking maybe he was the only one who thought this was a date. He remembers that from the start, everything felt different from a normal date. Sifa asks once more if he's having fun, and despite his doubts, he says yes. She just says good, while he thinks even that is a mystery. Some boys whisper among themselves and encourage one of them to take the chance. They push the nervous boy over to where Gio and Sifa are, telling him to be brave. Gio gets confused by the approach, thinking the boy is going to confess to Sifa. The boy jumps in front of Sifa, asking her to be his training partner, leaving Gio relieved when he realizes it wasn't a confession. Sifa says it's fine, and Gio comments that for now, he prefers to just watch. The boy celebrates, excited. Gio watches in surprise as Sifa gets ready for a training battle. It's the first time he's seen her about to fight, which makes him very curious. The boy charges in, yelling confidently, but Sifa blocks the attacks with ease. He tries his best, but she stands firm, not struggling at all. Sifa makes a quick move, and the boy tries to react, but he ends up disarmed with a single blow. He falls to the ground surprised, feeling the difference in strength between them. Sifa stops her attack at the last second, holding the tip of the spear close to the boy's face. He freezes, sweating and wide-eyed, realizing she could have hit him if she wanted. The boy, sitting on the ground, admits defeat and drops his sword. Sifa stays firm, spear pointed at him. Everyone watches in surprise, and Gio, his eyes shining, is impressed by her skill. Gio starts clapping, excited, smiling, and happy to have seen Sifa in action like a real adventurer. The people around praise her moves, saying it was impressive. Sifa offers a hand to help the boy up, while everyone keeps admiring her skill. Some students come up asking to train with Sifa too, but she politely refuses. She says that's enough for today, and that she has important plans for the rest of the day. Gio watches from a distance, curious about what could be so important. Gio asks if Sifa's finished training, and she confirms. Right after, she asks if he's hungry, and he replies excitedly that he is, imagining they could go to a stylish cafe. But in the next moment, they're already standing in front of the same place they visited yesterday, leaving Gio shocked and frustrated. Gio and Sifa arrive at the restaurant and are greeted by Annie, who is surprised to see the two of them there together. She asks what they're doing there, and Sifa answers directly that they came to eat. Gio tries to explain, but Annie pulls him aside, saying that's not what she meant. As people in the restaurant start whispering, Annie asks suspiciously if Gio is alone with Sifa and if they're on a date. Gio fires back, asking why she cares so much, and Annie, nervous, says it's not for any particular reason. Gio thinks about the day and says Sifa was the one who chose all the places, so it didn't feel like a real date. Even confused about what she's thinking, he admits he had a lot of fun. Gio says he doesn't feel like it was a date, while Annie watches everything from a distance, a bit thoughtful. Sifa is there, calm and smiling, sitting at the table as if just enjoying the moment normally. Annie analyzes the situation and blurts out that Gio is still 100 years away from being able to date Sifa. Gio is shocked by this, feeling totally defeated, while she tells him to sit down and that she'll take their order. Gio hangs his head, thinking he was way too full of himself. He thinks Sifa is way out of his league, both because she's older and such an incredible adventurer. When she asks what he and Annie were talking about, he dodges. Sifa notices he seems down and asks if he's tired. Gio tries to cover up again, but inside he feels that if it really were a date, she would have taken him to more special places. Sifa tries to cheer Gio up, saying he'll feel better after eating something good. Gio is surprised by her simplicity but ends up smiling. He gets excited again and says they'll eat a lot, and she agrees right away. Even thinking it wasn't a real date, he realizes that doesn't matter much after all. Gio ends up happy, eating by Sifa's side and thinking that, even if it wasn't a real date, he still got to spend time with her. After that, the two leave the restaurant while Annie and the other worker thank them for coming. Gio leaves the restaurant complaining that he ate too much, but soon admits the food was really good. Sifa asks if he's feeling better, and he replies excitedly that he is. The two walk together, feeling lighter after the meal. Sifa smiles and says the Lucas restaurant is the best she knows, maybe even the best in the world. Gio is surprised by this, realizing that in the end, that place really was a special place for her. The two get a bit embarrassed, both wanting to let the other speak first. Gio tries to be polite, but Sifa insists too, and ends up lowering her eyes, seeming nervous about what she's about to say. Sifa asks if Gio was upset earlier, wanting to know if it was because of her. She apologizes, saying she tried to think of nice places for them to go, but thinks she didn't do a good job. Gio, confused, doesn't really understand why she's blaming herself. Sifa confesses she wanted Gio to have a great time, since the day was to thank him for everything. As she doesn't really know how to make someone have fun, she decided to take him to her favorite places, thinking maybe he'd like them too. Gio understands everything in that moment, realizing the real reason behind her choices. Sifa reveals she even thought about taking him to a dungeon, but thought it would be too dangerous. Gio laughs, relieved, saying it was a good idea not to. He realizes all the places they went had special meaning for her, and starts seeing everything differently, laughing and enjoying her honesty. Sifa asks if Gio had fun. He replies excitedly that he did, and says that just being with her already makes him feel good, no matter the place. Sifa is surprised by the answer, and he realizes that sounded like a confession, immediately getting embarrassed. Sifa gives a real smile when she hears Gio's answer, and says that's great. He looks at her expression and thinks she's cool, and a bit clumsy too. Gio walks alongside Sifa with a smile on his face, thinking about how great the day was. He remembers the moments he spent with her and how he saw sides of her he'd never seen before. Even so, he still wonders in his head, did she ignore him because she's not interested in him at all? Sifa says there's still one last place to show. Gio, surprised, thinks maybe she'll introduce him to her parents, which makes him pretty nervous. But Sifa soon reveals the destination is her own house, explaining it's one of her favorite places. Gio is left speechless by the surprise. While Gio thinks the important thing is spending time with Sifa, a shout interrupts the moment someone calls out, warning bad news for the boss. The two head in the direction of the noise, and Gio remembers that Sifa's family has a blacksmith workshop. Gio and Sifa arrive at the workshop and are greeted by Billy, her father. He looks worried but soon recognizes Gio and greets him happily. Gio tries to introduce himself, but Billy immediately starts patting his back, asking why he's with his daughter. Billy is shocked to see Gio with Sifa, and already imagines they're on a date, getting visibly nervous about the situation. Meanwhile, Sifa tries to change the subject, and asks if something happened. One of the workers confirms, saying they have a big problem at the workshop. While everyone is talking, heavy footsteps approach. A mysterious man shows up with a smile, commenting on how much noise they're making. Gio and Billy look surprised at the new visitor. The man enters with heavy steps, standing intimidatingly. He stares directly at someone inside and, in a threatening tone, demands the money he's owed. The tension in the air rises immediately. The bald man introduces himself as Hazia, collecting with a mocking smile a debt that's already 3 months overdue. Billy looks at him seriously, while Gio and Sifa are surprised. Gio wonders if that rude guy is really someone Billy owes money to. Billy tries to explain, saying he took a big job just to pay the debt. He promises he'll get the money, but one of the workers reveals that the merchant who ordered the job disappeared. Sifa and Gio are left confused by the situation. Hazea pretends to care but quickly starts provoking, saying he doubts Billy can pay up. With a sarcastic smile, he suggests the client may have disappeared on purpose. Billy, surprised, soon suspects Hazea is behind this. Billy tries to protect the workshop, saying it's been in the family since his grandfather's time, and he won't let Hazea destroy it. Hazea, not caring, says that's a big problem, and suggests something in exchange for the workshop, hinting he has other intentions. Hazea shocks everyone by suggesting that, in exchange for the workshop, Billy should give up his own daughter. The absurd proposal leaves all three totally surprised, while Sifa asks, not understanding, if he's really talking about her. Gio gets angry at the absurd proposal, and yells at Hazea to stop with that nonsense. The tension rises, and Hazea glares at Gio, visibly annoyed at the response. Gio realizes he spoke without thinking, and already regrets it, while Hazea comes closer angrily. The mood gets heavy, and before he does anything, he stretches out his arm and tells Gio to wait. Hazea gets serious for a moment, but the blacksmith faces him and says there's still time before the final deadline, telling him to leave. Hazea gives a small sarcastic smile, admitting he lost this round. Before leaving, Hazea warns they have 3 days to get the money, and tells them to do their best. Everyone is tense about the situation, especially Gio and the girl next to him. One of the workers runs up to the boss, saying he checked the Merchants Guild several times, but nobody knows a merchant by that name. Gio apologizes for getting the boy involved in the mess while he tries to understand the situation. The man, frustrated, realizes the whole order was a trap set by the loan shark from the start. Gio explains that even though they have good craftsmen and many regular customers, the shop isn't doing well. They've had problems with new customers who keep changing the specs, so they end up having to pay extra costs, which is putting them in the red. Gio remembers the moment he was desperate at a tavern, not knowing what to do, until a man approached him claiming to be a loan shark. This man's name was Hazia, and he ended up catching Gio's attention. Gio says that at first, he thought Hazia was a nice guy, but then he disappeared and cut off all contact, forcing Gio to postpone the payment. The group starts connecting the dots, realizing the loan shark probably set everything up from the start to put them in trouble. One even realizes Hazia might have been behind the fake client's order too. The boy starts thinking there's something suspicious in this story. Even without proof against Hazia, he realizes the real problem may not be the money, but Hazia's direct interest in the workshop itself. He imagines the loan shark is doing everything on purpose just to keep them from paying and take the place. The girl thinks that if she could use the reward from defeating an area boss, maybe she could help, but 3 days isn't enough. Meanwhile, the boy offers to help with the debt, asking how much the blacksmith owes, saying he can pitch in if it's not a crazy amount. The boy offers a few dozen gold coins he got from selling his crops, thinking it might help. But the blacksmith responds by holding up an open hand and revealing the debt is 500 gold coins, leaving the boy shocked. Everyone is shocked to discover the debt is 500 gold coins in just 3 days. The atmosphere gets tense and everyone in the workshop feels desperate. Gio thanks the girl for her help, who says she'll do whatever she can to help. Later, while walking through the city deep in thought, he feels something is wrong and starts to suspect that the loan shark's real target might be Sifa. Even if he sold his crops, he couldn't raise all the money in time, and he wonders desperately if there's something else he could do. Gio thinks about using a risky solution and remembers Laruka, who could help, but he doesn't know where she is. He knows she usually comes by in the morning to pick up crops, but decides he can't wait. Determined, he runs off, ready to act on his own. He decides to look for Laruka at the Merchants Guild, but when he asks about her, he only gets negative answers. Gio talks to some guild employees, but no one knows where Laruka is since she is a merchant who's hard to find. While he is still thinking about this, Laruka suddenly appears and calls him. Gio feels relieved to see Laruka and runs to her, saying he was looking for her. She notices he is agitated and asks what happened while he starts to explain. Gio says he needs to show something important to Laruka. He takes a stone from his backpack and gives it to her. When she sees what it is, Laruka is surprised it looked like gold ore. Gio reveals he cultivated that ore in his own garden and asks if, by selling a lot, he could pay off his debt. Laruka is surprised but soon replies that it would be very difficult. Laruka explains that gold mines are controlled by the government and nobles, and if he sold too much of that ore, he could be accused of illegal mining. Gio gets discouraged and asks what else he could do, while Laruka begins thinking of an alternative. Laruka asks if Gio can cultivate other ores, and he shows a huge plantation of mithril. She explains that, since it's a rare metal linked to mana and not controlled by authorities, it could be sold without raising suspicion. Gio worries about the deadline for the debt, but Laruka offers to take care of the business for him, saying she had a good idea. Laruka assures him he can trust her and promises to handle everything. Gio smiles relieved and accepts, saying he's counting on her. While a blacksmith says goodbye to his own workshop because he can't pay his debt, his daughter begs him not to give up. At that moment, Gio arrives with Laruka, who introduces herself as a merchant and says she came to make an order on his recommendation. The blacksmith says the workshop would close that day, but Laruka surprises him by saying the client wants to pay in advance. He reacts shocked, while she says she doesn't yet know if it will be enough to pay off the debt, but asks him to take a look at what she brought. Laruka surprises the blacksmith by showing a large amount of mithril ore and says she still has more stored. In exchange, she makes a request. She wants to order 200 sets of swords and shields. The blacksmith is surprised by the order for 200 sets and realizes that would be enough money to cover everything. But when he sees the value of the proposal, he becomes suspicious, thinking it might be too good to be true, and asks if they are trying to deceive him. Laruka admits she understands the suspicion since it's their first meeting, but soon she reveals that the deal was entrusted to her by Gio, and directly asks if he trusts Gio himself. Sifa interrupts the conversation and says she trusts Gio. The blacksmith hesitates but recognizes that it was Gio who helped his daughter and spoke for her, remembering his attitude. Convinced, The blacksmith shakes Laruka's hand and agrees to the deal enthusiastically. Both promise to do their best, while Gio and Sifa watch happily in the background. The blacksmith hands over the payment, revealing platinum coins. Gio is surprised, as he had never seen one before. Sifa comments that they are valuable and usually only used by nobles or big merchants. While everyone celebrates the deal, Gio notices something strange. Laruka never said where this order came from. She just smiles excitedly, giving no hint about the origin of the job. Excited by the new order, the blacksmith runs off, saying he needs to talk to Hezea while the moment is favorable. Gio and Laruka look confused by his hurry, and Sifa tries to call him back. As the blacksmith rushes, a mysterious man watches him with a smile. He asks the reason for the hurry, hinting that he was already expecting something. A group of men appear, blocking the blacksmith's way. The leader, with a sarcastic tone, insinuates that he was trying to flee the city at night, making it clear they were watching him. The group leader reminds him that today is the agreed day for the debt payment. The blacksmith gets scared, while the man says it would be a big problem if they just tried to run away now. The blacksmith tells Sifa to stay away, worried that the men might be watching her. Gio reinforces that it's better she stays inside the workshop, and Sifa silently accepts, a little surprised. The group approaches confidently, thinking the blacksmith wasn't able to gather the amount of the debt, which was 500 gold coins. But he shows the platinum coins and asks if that isn't enough to cover everything. The collectors are shocked to see the platinum coins and don't believe he got so much money in just 3 days. Laruka appears smiling and says it was thanks to a recent deal, even though she claims she only acted as an intermediary. The group leader is surprised by Laruka's efficiency, not believing that someone so small managed to gather so much money so quickly. Trying to turn the situation, he pretends to remember something and says with a malicious smile that he forgot to include interest in the charge. The collector claims that, with interest, the debt rose to 1,500 gold coins, 3 times the original amount. Laruka and Gio are shocked, while the blacksmith rebels, asking how he got that absurd number. The man just replies that this is the real value of the debt. The collector implies that neither the coins nor the workshop are enough to pay the supposed debt. With a cruel smile, he says the blacksmith would also have to hand over his daughter. Gio, furious, realizes right away that the man had been eyeing Sifa from the start. The blacksmith, filled with rage, clenches his fists and shouts that he would never give up his daughter, even if it cost his own life. The collectors, sensing the tension, try to keep the upper hand by saying they don't want the situation to end in violence. Sifa watches silently, tense about the situation. Gio, filled with anger, steps forward and faces the group, telling them to stop with that nonsense. The blacksmith, still furious, curses the group leader. Gio faces the group leader without hesitation and firmly shouts that he will never let him do that. The impact of the statement surprises the man, who is momentarily speechless. The leader recognizes Gio as the boy he had faced before and gets angry, pressing him aggressively. Gio, even scared, replies that this is all his business. Sifa watches scared, calling his name. Gio, with firmness in his voice, says it's all his business because Sifa is his precious friend. The girl listens silently, surprised by his words. The group leader laughs and admits Gio has courage, but soon grabs him hard by the shirt. He threatens to find out if Gio can handle the pain without running away, making clear his intention to hurt him. Laruka interrupts the tension with a smile and says she forgot to mention something important about the client. While everyone turns to her, she calmly starts searching her bag, keeping a light but mysterious tone. With a big smile, Laruka reveals a document that was in her bag and announces that the real client is none other than the lord of that region. Everyone is shocked by the revelation. The collector leader freezes, the blacksmith widens his eyes, and even the henchmen react scared. Gio watches surprised, processing that the client behind everything was the lord of that land. The scene cuts to a castle, where someone drinks tea and comments that they always end up giving in to Laruka's requests. It soon becomes clear she was referring to the provincial city chief of Arcel, revealing that Laruka's support came directly from the highest authority in the region. Gio recognizes the coat of arms on the document and confirms it really is the Lord's Laruka, then warns with a smile, if they try to charge anything unfair from the workshop, the Lord will certainly find out. Laruka puts pressure with a smile, saying it would be very inconvenient if the Lord knew certain things. Gio grits his teeth, the henchmen get tense, and in the end, the other man gives in, saying he will accept the 500 coins. The bandits leave angrily, and the group watches them go. Laruka starts trembling, relieved, and vents that it was too scary. Gio and the boy take a deep breath, exhausted from the tension. Gio runs to the boy relieved, asking if he is okay and saying he was surprised by his attitude. The boy laughs and says everything is fine. Sifa approaches running, while the boy apologizes for being a bit dumb. She watches silently but seems relieved. Sifa jumps straight into the boy's arms and hugs him tightly, catching him completely by surprise. He freezes, not knowing how to react. Gio and the girl with the hat are left open-mouthed, surprised and emotional. Sifa thanks Gio with a loving smile, saying that thanks to him, her father's workshop is safe. Meanwhile, Gio freezes completely, his head exploding with nervousness, not knowing what to do with the hug. Gio is still in shock from the hug, stammering non-stop. Sifa, a bit shy, thanks him for everything. The blacksmith praises Laruka for getting an order straight from the Lord, and she replies smiling, saying it was nothing. Gio, all embarrassed, admits he only managed that with her help. Laruka says she helped because she saw Gio was doing his best. Gio tries to explain himself, still nervous about everything that happened. The blacksmith starts patting his back, praising his courage. Laruka also praises him, saying he was really nice at that moment. Gio starts to panic, remembering what he said in front of Sifa, thinking it was very embarrassing. He tries to explain all clumsy, calling her attention to talk about what he had said earlier. Gio panics when he sees someone about to repeat what he said, but Sifa soon comments that she didn't hear well since she was far away. Relieved, he breathes deeply while the atelier owner thanks him sincerely for the help. Sifa also says she will find a way to return the favor. Gio replies smiling that he doesn't need more thanks since Sifa's hug was more than enough. He thinks to himself that, although he usually doesn't have courage, now he feels relief for having faced that scary guy. Gio looks at Laruka, who is all excited and making the all good sign, and smiles. Then, Sifa watches both with a calm and happy look, quietly saying she's glad. Gio looks at Sifa with a slight smile, while Laruka watches everything beside him. He silently thinks he's happy to have protected her smile. The bald man is furious, punching the wall while shouting angrily. He says he spent a long time preparing the plan, but now everything was ruined. Desperate, he thinks he can't report this to the boss. Meanwhile, another man watches him with crossed arms, silently. The blonde says he couldn't find the girl's base but discovered a place she usually visits. He explains it's the house of a young man who was with the merchant. The bald man says that's enough, and admits he doesn't like the boy either. Gio picks vegetables in the garden with a smile, unaware he's being watched. In the background, a mysterious figure watches and declares they will capture him and use him as bait. Dennis eagerly offers to test a potion since that's part of the assistant's job. The woman asks him to put his face in a basin with water mixed with the potion. Curious, he agrees. When he submerges his face, he is surprised by the amount of bubbles. While his face is submerged, Dennis is surprised to realize he can breathe normally underwater. Dennis gets excited, discovering he can breathe underwater. Marlene explains the potion was made with air flowers and allows a person to act in water as if on solid ground. They comment that the air flowers, used in the potion, only grow in very high places and are rare ingredients. Gio was the one who brought these flowers, which makes the girl curious about how he gets such hard-to-find items. Marlene, hearing this, quietly steps away. Dennis panics and tries to throw away the potion water and the used bottle, but Marlene stops him. She says she will keep the bottle as a precious heirloom and even plans to use the water as a personal treat later, making Dennis even more nervous. Sifa enters the shop calling for Marlene and Dennis, and both get scared. Dennis, desperate, throws the water away just as she appears, letting out a scream of despair. After the desperate scream, Sifa just watches silently. Marlene starts crying quietly while Dennis, now relieved, welcomes Sifa with a forced smile. Sifa asks if something happened, but Dennis pretends nothing did. She then comments that she's preparing for another adventure. Dennis, trying to change the subject, says with a smile that Marlene just finished a new potion while she keeps crying quietly in the background. A wolf calmly approaches the house while sniffing the air. Gio, smiling, calls him saying it's dinner time, offering milk. The girl beside him, excited, says she wants some too. The wolf responds with a meow, as if it were a cat. Gio serves fried fish to the creature, saying it's his favorite dish. The creature, although called a cat, looks much bigger and wolf-like, eating happily. The girl comments that he has grown a lot and can't be carried anymore. Gio answers it's because he has been eating much more than just milk lately. She looks surprised and says milk really grew a lot. Gio comments that milk came from a monster egg, but even so, he doesn't seem dangerous, as he is very attached to him. Even though he is growing, he's still spoiled as always. Milk curls up on Gio's lap, getting petted while purring. The girl looks excited, saying she wants to pet him too. Sena tries to get close to Milk, but he growls fiercely and almost bites her. Geo explains that he just doesn't like her. Annoyed, she says it's unfair. Geo changes the subject and asks about the day's adventure, telling her to hurry and finish eating. She confirms excited, while thinking about which area she will explore. Geo and Sena arrive at the entrance of a mysterious underwater area. He confirms there is a dungeon there, but no one has ever explored that part. Since water is a big disadvantage, Sena shows the aquatic potion they brought, deciding to test its effectiveness. She drinks the potion excited, ready to start exploring. The three dive into the water after taking the potion. Now able to move and breathe normally, they swim calmly toward the unknown, ready to explore the underwater dungeon. The girls are impressed with the potion's effects. Even underwater, they can breathe normally, walk easily, their clothes don't even get wet, and they can still hear each other as if they were on solid ground. While exploring, one group member feels something approaching. The hunter's scent is still working. Suddenly, a giant monster emerges from the depths, swimming quickly toward them. The group watches the creature approach, and one comments it's just a fish, but a very big one. Then, one of the adventurers pulls out her weapon firmly, preparing to face the monster about to attack them. Sena attacks the giant fish with a direct and precise blow, cutting the creature in half while shouting with determination. The force of the cut creates a wave in the water, showing she still masters the sword very well. The girls praise Sena's sword skill, saying she is still as good as before. They also recognize the value of the potions made by Marlene, which are very useful in the exploration. Meanwhile, one reveals that the potion ingredients came from Geo, which he already suspected. But deep under the sea, something sinister approaches. The group continues exploring the underwater area and notices there is almost no information about that place. So, they decide to carefully map everything. While walking through tunnels and observing the environment, Marlene appears excited with her pets, and the group stops a little to take notes on the map. While exploring the tunnels, the group is surprised to face a stunning underwater landscape. A huge field of corals and glowing fish extends ahead, leaving everyone amazed at the place's beauty. The girls continue advancing through the underwater area, admiring the corals and exotic fish. One comments how the place would be perfect for tourism if it weren't a dungeon full of monsters. Meanwhile, Sena alerts about possible threats, and another girl already thinks about whether the fish there would be tasty. While the boy sneezes outside with his cat, the girls keep exploring. One comments that despite the complicated environment, the enemies there aren't that hard. With the right potions, the underwater dungeon might even be easy to conquer. Suddenly, Sena points out surprised and calls the others' attention to something ahead. While fish and stingrays swim calmly, a giant shadow starts forming in the depths. The girls look scared, and one wonders if it would be the boss of the underwater area. The tension grows with the threatening presence approaching. Meanwhile, at Geo's house, everything is calm. Outside, someone confirms that's the right place. Inside, Geo sleeps peacefully, snoring without imagining what is about to happen. A group of men approaches Geo's house, taking advantage that his adventurer sister isn't there. They see the perfect chance since Geo is just an ordinary person. One of them orders a quick invasion, and the door is broken down with a loud crash while Geo keeps sleeping unaware. The cat Milk senses the danger and wakes up quickly. He growls and tugs Geo's sleeve insistently, trying to alert him. Geo wakes up half sleepy, rubbing his eyes and asking what's going on, not understanding why Milk is so agitated. Geo hears a noise coming from the door and thinks maybe it's his sister Sena coming back, but soon senses something wrong. He follows Milk to the corridor but faces two strange masked men invading the house. His heart races and he thinks scared, "Number it can't be. Who are they?" Milk growls fiercely, leaps, and attacks the invaders without hesitation. The two men try to react but are caught off guard by the cat's ferocity. One falls to the ground, screaming, not understanding what's happening. Geo shouts for Milk to be careful, but it's too late. One invader attacks, trying to hit the cat with a direct strike. Milk notices at the last second and prepares to react. Milk attacks quickly and precisely, injuring one invader's face. The impact is so strong that the enemy immediately backs off. Scared, the two men realize they are not dealing with an ordinary animal and decide to flee as soon as possible. Geo watches the commotion scared, not understanding what happened. Milk runs to him, alert. Geo asks if she's okay and notices by the signs that there is still danger. The cat meows, and Geo understands they need to escape through the garden. He runs determined, following Milk. The armed men run to the backyard after spotting Geo. They shout for the group to find him quickly. Geo, hidden with Milk among the plants, watches the movement silently. Geo watches the armed men approach and realizes he's in danger if caught with weapons. He hides with Milk and despite fear, tries to stay calm. He tells himself he has strong friends and believes everything will be fine. While one enemy approaches through the bushes, a mysterious creature with a sprout on its head appears and attacks quickly, taking the man by surprise. The enemies are shocked to see they were attacked by a golem, something completely unexpected in that area. While one is thrown away, the others try to understand what those creatures are doing there. One invader tries to stay calm and says there are few golems, but soon notices several others appearing around them, making clear the situation is getting out of control. The henchmen start panicking due to the unexpected number of golems appearing. One complains, pressured by a superior voice demanding to know why they haven't captured just one boy yet. Geo watches hidden with milk while noticing someone new appeared there. One invader tries to explain the situation, surprised by the sudden presence of golems in that area. A mysterious figure watches the situation seriously, holding his sword firmly. Then, he rushes out of the bushes in a quick and precise move. The man jumps with impressive speed, launching a powerful sword strike that cuts through the field with a sure and strong blow. The man watches others struggling and mocks the situation, saying it's unbelievable they are losing to such weak enemies. He faces everything with coldness and contempt, not taking the danger seriously. The boy is shocked, recognizing the man who appears, wondering if he came for revenge. He is scared to see his golem destroyed in an instant. Meanwhile, the henchmen begin to realize that even defeating many golems, new ones keep rising from the ground. The man continues advancing with his sword, cutting everything on his path with fury. Meanwhile, the boy and the animal watch hidden, scared by the invader's strength who advances, ignoring everyone around. The boy runs with milk right behind but is quickly noticed by the bald man, who looks at him angrily. He shouts, asking if all this was the boy's idea, and says there's no point making more weak golems because they make no difference against him. While many golems continue rising from the ground, the boy tries to escape through the garden area. The bald man furiously chases after him, shouting he won't let him run away. But in the middle of the run, he suddenly stops, noticing something strange approaching. The bald man freezes when he sees a huge shadow appear before him. A giant golem appears out of nowhere, staring at him with glowing eyes. Surprised and sweating, he tries to react by quickly drawing his sword. But the tension is clear. This is not an ordinary golem. The attack was so fast and strong that the ground cracks. The bald man staggers back, dropping his sword and falling to his knees, completely shocked. He barely understands what just happened. The man starts laughing nervously, thinking all this must be a joke. But soon he is surprised by something huge approaching with a crash. He drops the sword in shock, looking at the creature in front and wondering if it really was just a golem, or a real monster. The story goes back a little in time. The white-haired man advances with a quick strike, cutting everything precisely. While running, he mocks the others, asking why they are having so much trouble with such weak enemies. The man continues advancing angrily, saying the situation must be a joke. Meanwhile, the boy watches scared, trembling, impressed by his strength. He thinks that guy is destroying golems non-stop, one after another. The boy realizes that normal golems can't stop the man, so he starts running with the white wolf, not knowing what to do. The wolf gives an alert, and the boy agrees, saying they need to get away as soon as possible. Meanwhile, the man continues advancing relentlessly, sword in hand. While trying to think of a solution, the boy notices a new option in the floating interface. A message appears asking if he would like to create a Mega Guardian. His eyes widen seeing this possibility, realizing it might be his only chance to stop the enemy's advance. The boy faces the enemy's approach determined. Even without having tested that skill before, he activates the Mega Guardian function. The ground starts shaking and deforming, with a gigantic structure emerging. While he thinks he has no choice but to try, the boy gets excited when he sees that the first Guardian has been created, and soon asks if he can make more. Several windows appear with the same question, and he confirms without hesitation. One by one, more Mega Guardians rise from the ground as he answers enthusiastically. The Mega Guardians finish emerging from the ground with a heavy impact, making everything around shake. They stare at the enemy with glowing eyes, and the man who was mocking before now freezes before the size and strength that appeared in front of him. The boy watches surprised at the two giants before him, and is amazed by the size of the golems he just created. He didn't even know he was capable of that. The enemy stares at the scene, shocked, not understanding what is happening. Meanwhile, other guys farther away also notice the huge silhouettes that appeared in the middle of the night. The man falls to the ground, not believing what he is seeing, thinking it's all a joke. Meanwhile, the boy firmly orders the golems to expel the enemy from there, and one of the creatures immediately charges without hesitation. The giant golem grabs the man in the air effortlessly. He struggles, screams, and tries to break free, but it's useless. Then the golem violently throws him against the ground, making him scream in pain as he is crushed with force. The man is thrown hard onto the ground, screaming in pain when hit. He collapses unconscious, while others watch silently, clearly shocked by what they just saw. The henchmen run in panic, carrying the injured boss. One of them shouts desperately that there's no way to defeat those creatures, while another says that place is crazy and they need to get out of there as soon as possible. The boy asks if it's safe now, and the giant golem just nods. Relieved, he sighs and smiles, while the little creature next to him rubs against him, happy and purring. The boy thanks the huge golems around him while petting his furry companion. He admits he would be in trouble if it weren't for all of them. The group sits by the water, still surprised by what they saw. The short-haired girl comments that the area's boss is a colossal monster, about 100 meters tall. Another in the group admits he underestimated the place because it was unknown. While one girl asks if they have a chance to defeat the giant monster, another answers excitedly that she thinks in the end it will be delicious. The friend immediately scolds her, saying that's not what they should be thinking, but admits she agrees. The third sighs, saying so far everything was going well. The group decides to keep mapping the area before returning, avoiding fighting the boss for now. Since the creature is huge, they think they'll notice if it comes close, and they still count on Annie's special gift. While preparing and grabbing potions, one girl thinks it's strange how the presence of such a big monster was almost imperceptible. After exploring a lot, one girl says she thinks they've mapped the area enough. Another soon asks if it's not time to go back to the surface, and the third celebrates excitedly, saying she will finally be able to go home. While the girls return, one reminds them not to let their guard down on the way. The blonde comments they'll need to devise a strategy to defeat the area boss, but only the next time they come back there. On the way back, the girls are surprised by a gigantic presence. A huge monster appears right in front of them, leaving them all shocked by the size of the creature. The girl panics, realizing the monster appeared right in front of them without anyone noticing. She is scared for not having sensed anything, not even with the hunter's sharp scent. The girls realize the danger and start running desperately. The hunter warns everyone to flee, and while they run, they notice the monster is following them closely. The monster approaches with its mouth wide open, about to swallow everything. The girls look back in panic, realizing they can't escape in time. The tension rises with the fear of being swallowed alive. While the girls run desperately, Sifa suddenly stops, surprising them all. She watches the monster attentively and says that, despite the size, it doesn't seem so intimidating. The others are confused by her attitude. Sifa uses her special ability called Empress's Authority to try to weaken the monster. One of the girls recognizes the gift and explains it serves to weaken enemies, but the stronger the enemy, the less effect the ability has. The girl comments that against a gigantic opponent like this, the weakening power wouldn't have much effect. Meanwhile, another girl points at something far away and calls everyone's attention, seeming to have seen something important. While watching the giant monster, one girl notices something strange. The creature's body begins to disintegrate little by little, as if dissolving into the air. She is surprised and questions what is happening. The girl analyzes the scene and concludes it wasn't a real giant fish. In fact, it was a huge group of small fish moving together and forming the appearance of that monster. She had suspected this and confirms it out loud. The girls look closer and realize the giant monster was actually a large school of small fish. That explains why its presence was so weak. Even the girl with the hunter's scent couldn't detect anything strange before. The girls draw their weapons and prepare, now understanding that monster was just an illusion made by the fish group. But one of them warns it's not time to lower their guard, as there must be a different fish leading the rest. They stay alert, ready to act. The blonde positions firmly on the ground, ready to support. Meanwhile, another girl decides to finish them all at once. The two advance confidently. She extends her hand, making her ability glow, and firmly declares it's time for the little fish to bow before her. The fish quickly scatter in several directions. The brown-haired girl jumps into the middle of them with her sword in hand, cutting precisely while shouting. She hits several with quick moves, determined to finish them all at once. The girls notice the fish slowed down a lot, and one comments that her companion's ability is working well. With the enemies slower, they continue defeating the small fish little by little. But in the middle of the group, a bigger fish with a sharp look appears, drawing attention with its threatening gaze. Suddenly, a strong burst of energy arises in the middle of the fish formation, creating a dark vacuum. The girls are startled by what they see, while the blonde watches seriously, seeming to already know what was coming. The girls are caught by surprise by a swarm of fish flying at high speed, hitting them from all sides. One screams in pain while trying to protect herself, and the blonde, already feeling the pressure of the attack, realizes she can no longer keep her power active. The situation turns chaotic. The girls try to regroup but barely have time to breathe. One notices the fish swarm is coming back full force. The blonde positions again, raising her hand and activating her power, trying to contain the charge once more. The group keeps moving, with the blonde in front noticing something strange coming toward them. A loud roar echoes as a wave of energy or wind passes through them. All react surprised, looking toward the sound with tension. One girl notices something approaching fast and prepares. A bigger fish emerges from the school, and she jumps, stabbing her blade against it without hesitation. She recognizes that it was the leader. The leader fish is hit squarely and begins to disintegrate in the air. Immediately, the huge school disperses, scattering as if it lost direction. The girls watch from afar, surprised by the chain reaction. The girls notice all the fish suddenly disappeared. The one responsible for killing the leader fish explains that by defeating it, the others scattered. Observing the body still moving on the ground, they confirm that was indeed the one commanding the school, and they conclude that was the leader. One girl is surprised by Sena's ability to find it in the middle of the confusion, and she laughs, saying she only got a glimpse and cut by instinct. The others praise her, impressed. Then, they question if that fish was the area boss, and although the appearance was deceptive, it was quite strong. One girl comments, tired, that her whole body hurts. With everything settled, the girls decide to return and inform the guild about what happened. They walk together through the underwater tunnel, leaving the place behind. The three girls arrive at the guild and are welcomed with a cheerful smile by a receptionist who recognizes Sifa and says she arrived at the perfect time. As the girls approach the counter, Cornelia excitedly announces good news. She reminds them they recently conquered the volcanic area and says someone important heard about their conquest and wants to meet them in the future. The three are surprised by the news. The receptionist is shocked to learn the girls also conquered the underwater area. She screams in surprise, asks how they achieved something so absurd in such a short time, and admits they are too good. The receptionist warns they will probably receive a special reception now. The girls are confused, but she reveals that the one wanting to meet them is none other than the Lord of Arsal. The three are shocked to hear the city's lord himself wants to see them. They stare at the castle, impressed by the importance of this unexpected meeting. The girls are even more surprised to confirm the lord wants to invite them directly to the castle. The receptionist confirms, smiling, making clear it is an official invitation. The girls comment on how rare it is for ordinary people to meet a lord, and one confirms she never saw him. Meanwhile, the receptionist explains that since conquering the volcanic area, the region started attracting more explorers and boosting the economy with the arrival of valuable raw materials. The receptionist says it's the first time the Lord calls such young adventurers, but that they deserved it for their great contribution. One girl remembers that everything was only possible thanks to the potion made by the pharmacist. She also reveals that even the alchemist herself, Marlene, was called. The problem is she is a recluse with social anxiety, which worries everyone. When one girl tries to say it was her brother who cultivated all the ingredients used in the potion, another quickly grabs her and covers her mouth, warning that Gio's garden is a secret. The receptionist just watches, not understanding anything. The receptionist informs the group was called to go to the castle in 5 days. One girl confirms everything is fine since they plan to take a break after the mission in the submerged area. The other two celebrate excitedly for finally getting some rest. The girls say goodbye, planning to see each other in 5 days. One leaves, skipping through the city, happy to have done her mission well, already thinking about enjoying the rest, with Gio pampering her a little. Gio watches worried as the cat Milk walks restlessly around the house. Since the incident, nothing else happened, but still, the cat can't relax and stays alert as if expecting something. Gio starts to get paranoid, wondering if those guys might come back to attack him. He remembers Sena is late and starts worrying, thinking if they went after her. While pacing, trying to think what to do, Milk meows as if he is also tense about the situation. Gio and Milk get scared by a sudden noise from the door. Both get alert. Milk quickly runs toward the sound while Gio, surprised, wonders if it's those guys again. Gio is relieved to see Sena return safely, even if a bit late. She explains she went through some things but will take some rest now. Meanwhile, Milk is still alert, but Gio calms him down, saying it's alright, it's just Sena. The cat sniffs her to make sure and gradually relaxes. Gio confirms there really was an enemy involved. Sena, surprised, asks if something happened. When he says yes, she is even more shocked to hear he was attacked in the middle of the night, almost dropping the bowl. Sena asks if Gio got hurt, but he explains Milk and the Golems protected him. She is surprised and relieved. Geo, however, reveals they are still tense since they don't know when the attackers might return. Sena listens carefully and serious, says it seems to have been quite complicated. Then, she directly asks who were the people who attacked him. Geo describes the leader of the attackers as a bald guy, rude, with harsh features and tattoos. He warns the man was good with a sword since the normal golems weren't enough. Worried, Geo asks Sena to be careful too, and even suggests she lock the bedroom door at night because they might try something against her as well. Sena smiles calmly while eating and says not to worry, stating that, unlike her brother, she knows how to fight. Geo tries to insist, reminding her that even though she's an adventurer, she's still a novice. But Sena stays unconcerned, leaving him speechless, thinking she remains relaxed as always. Geo wakes up early and goes out with Milk and the Golems to reinforce the garden with the magical stones Sena brought. Meanwhile, he wonders if she is still sleeping, since she had been putting a lot of effort into the last adventures. Geo keeps reinforcing the garden with the magical stones, but worries Sena is pushing herself too hard. He thinks about how to protect her better and laments not having another way to keep the enemy group away. He also notes the mega golems are strong but hard to use during the day. Geo gets excited, thinking he can escape using a teleport system between gardens. He tries to use the function but gets a message that he can't travel at that moment, which frustrates him. Still, he decides to keep testing other portals with Milk and the Golem. Geo discovers a new ability called Traveling Garden and is asked if he wants to switch to travel mode. He accepts, somewhat confused, and soon after activating, the ground begins to shake, scaring him, Milk, and the Golem. Geo feels the ground tremble and is confused by what just happened. He notices the neighbor's house seems lower, as if something changed in the environment without warning. Geo runs desperately, not believing what he is seeing. He arrives in front of the house and sees everything shaking, as if something huge is about to happen. Geo is shocked, realizing he messed up more than he should in the garden. The entire house structure starts sliding with a crash, and he, desperate, shouts to put everything back as it was before. Geo watches the whole house repositioned and sweats cold with the situation. Two men, scared by the noise and the scene, shout as they try to understand what is happening. Geo realizes this ability would attract much more attention than the golems, and thinks he can't use it as a way to escape it, would end up standing out even more. Geo begins thinking these new abilities are too complicated to use frequently. But then, looking at the fields, he has an idea. If he manages to cultivate something incredible, it might be worth it in the end. Full of expectation, Geo accesses the list of plants he can cultivate. But when he sees only names of flowers and some common herbs, he collapses on the ground, disappointed. All he can say is, "They're just flowers." Geo sighs, discouraged for not seeing any use in the plants he can cultivate. The golem and the cat just watch him, and meanwhile, Milk approaches and starts licking his hand. Geo reacts, calling the cat and the golem tries to follow, emitting an excited mew mew as if part of the game. Geo notices the golem and the cat are trying to cheer him up. The golem gently pats his shoulder, and the two stay by his side. Geo smiles lightly, bows in thanks, and says sincerely, "Thanks, I appreciate it." Geo realizes he can't let fear take over. He clenches his fists, takes a deep breath, and tells himself he needs to protect Sena, showing determination. The image then cuts to Sena, still resting among the plants, while Geo watches from afar with his companions nearby. Geo remembers it's already time for Sena to wake up. He goes upstairs and finds the bedroom door open, surprised since he had asked her to lock it. He enters calling her, but the room seems empty. Geo finds the empty room strange and calls for Sena, but gets no answer. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a bald figure with an angry expression leans against the wall, panting and swearing revenge. Someone with striped socks is dragged, and Geo, realizing what may have happened, punches the wall in anger. The bald man walks angrily through an alley, recalling the humiliations he suffered. He hears voices mocking him for being defeated by an ordinary boy and running away with his tail between his legs. Furious, he thinks they only said that because they didn't see the giant golems. He also reveals he was demoted within the organization and even betrayed by his own subordinates. Filled with rage, he decides, Geo knows too much and must be eliminated. While watching Geo's house from a distance, he sees a girl passing by. It's Sena. He remembers hearing the boy lived with his adventurer sister, and then has a cruel idea, to use the girl as bait to lure the boy out of the house. He smiles maliciously, determined to carry out the plan. The girl walks distractedly through an empty alley, while the man approaches from behind. He sees the perfect chance and calls for her. The man tries to threaten the girl, but she soon realizes who he is. Confirming her suspicions, the mood changes and she faces the aggressor coldly, asking if he was the one who attacked her brother. The man thinks he'll control the girl just because she knows who he is, but she responds calmly and mockingly, saying she won't obey. The unexpected reaction irritates and confuses him. The man draws his sword and tries to intimidate the girl, saying she doesn't understand her position. But she stays calm, unshaken, and replies that he should be the one worried about his own situation. As soon as he lunges at her, the girl disappears instantly, leaving him in shock. His sword falls to the ground, and cold sweat runs down his face. Fear begins to hit hard. The man screams in despair, not understanding what just happened. He looks at his own injured arm, bleeding a lot, and tries to stay standing. Meanwhile, the girl walks away calmly, saying it was all his fault for putting her brother in danger. The girl faces the enemy coldly, saying making her brother so scared was unforgivable. With a serious tone, she makes it clear that as long as he's around, no one there will sleep in peace. The man starts sweating cold, terrified. He tries to plead for calm while retreating on the ground, trembling. The girl keeps approaching, and his despair only grows. He knows he has no way out. The girl faces the man lying on the ground with her sword pointed, looking down coldly and authoritatively, while ironically and threateningly calling him Mr. The girl looks at the man angrily, making it clear he should never approach her brother again. He, terrified, realizes messing with these siblings was a huge mistake. The boy runs to his sister, worried, asking where she has been. She answers calmly that she went for a walk, but soon mentions she met the bald man earlier. The boy is shocked, remembering how dangerous it was to go out alone. Sena smiles and reassures her brother, saying he can rest easy since the bald man promised never to approach again. The boy, confused, just says, "Huh?" not understanding how she managed that. The boy is surprised to learn Sena was in no danger and feels relieved. But while she walks away calmly, he starts wondering if the guy simply gave up, or if Sena is actually incredibly strong. Sena says now they can relax and that she will also sleep a lot. Her brother smiles, thanks her, and pats her head lightly but warns her not to overdo it. While walking together in front of the house, Sena says everything is fine because he is kind and weak. The brother reacts surprised while she keeps smiling, as if just teasing. Sena sleeps deeply until she is abruptly awakened by her brother, who enters the room calling her. While a fat and heavy cat crushes her, he reminds her she had something to do today. Half sleepy, Sena replies she's off from adventures. Sena suddenly remembers the appointment and runs with her companions. They arrive in front of an imposing building, excited because that day they would meet the Lord of Arcel. The girls enter the castle and are impressed with the size and luxury of the place. The corridors are huge, everything shiny and well decorated, with flower arrangements and elegant architecture. They walk admiringly as they approach the meeting with the Lord. The girls walk down the corridor being guided to the Lord. One of them comments that she's a little nervous, while another says she's curious about what kind of person the Lord is since he took office a few years ago. One of the girls seems uncomfortable with a sudden feeling, while the other says she has something important she would like to talk to the Lord about. One of the girls is visibly down and uncomfortable, murmuring that she wants to leave and doesn't understand why she had to go. Even after contributing a lot, she complains that she couldn't bring Dennis, her companion, because he wasn't invited. The situation makes her even more discouraged. She keeps complaining while crying, saying Dennis contributes every day just by being by her side. Even so, she's completely ignored as the group is led into a large room with several seats. The butler announces that everyone is already present before the master. The door opens and an elegant woman enters the room. With a calm smile, she thanks everyone for being there and introduces herself as Lord Elizabeth Arcel. The girls watch silently as she welcomes the group. The girls are impressed by Elizabeth Arcel's beauty. Sena gets excited and blurts out a comment aloud, quickly being scolded. Meanwhile, one of the girls looks attentively at the Lord and asks if they haven't met before. Elizabeth, surprised, replies she doesn't remember. Elizabeth confirms that she really saw Sifa a few days ago. This surprises the group, especially Sifa herself, who is startled when the Lord approaches praising her work as a pharmacist. Everyone is shocked to realize that Lord Elizabeth is actually the adventurer Eliza they had met earlier in the dungeon. Sena can't hide her confusion and screams while trying to understand how that elegant woman can be the same mysterious warrior. Elizabeth just smiles, amused by their reaction. Elizabeth sits elegantly while explaining her unusual choice. She says that if a lord only does management work, the body ends up weakening. That's why sometimes she acts as an adventurer under the name Eliza, all in secret. She comments that this also helps the knights train in real combats. The butler is surprised, having never heard of a lord doing such things. The girls think Elizabeth became a rank B adventurer with help from the castle knights, but she denies it. She explains that when she was younger, she ran away from home and traveled the world. It was during that journey that she reached rank B. Elizabeth says that even though she wanted to continue as an adventurer, she had to return home 5 years ago when her older brother died at 30. With that, she took on the title of Lord. She realizes she went on too long and apologizes. Elizabeth explains she invited the group to personally thank them for their great achievements in the dungeon, which greatly helped the economic growth of the territory. The girls are happy and feel honored by the recognition. Elizabeth praises the group for also recently conquering the underwater area, finding that impressive. She says she would like to hear the whole heroic story in detail during lunch, clapping excitedly. Soon after, a lavish banquet is served at the table. Everyone is impressed by the quantity and appearance of the food, and one of the girls gets excited seeing the feast, praising it enthusiastically. The girls are enchanted by the castle's food, admiring the abundance and presentation of the dishes. Sena gets too excited and starts drooling from hunger, getting scolded by her friend. Elizabeth, laughing at the situation, asks them not to worry. Elizabeth says the chefs put soul and effort into that meal, and that everyone can eat as much as they want. The girls cheer and start serving themselves excitedly. One is impressed with the meat, saying it's quite thick, while another takes the first bite, glowing with happiness. The girls start eating and melt with the flavor. One says the meat is juicy and melts in the mouth, while another loudly praises it as delicious. Elizabeth agrees, smiling, amused by their lively reaction. Another girl tries the soup and is delighted with the flavor. She smiles, satisfied, and praises it, also commenting on how perfect the smell and seasoning were. While tasting a fish dish, one of the girls recognizes the flavor and comments on how expensive it is in the market. She starts remembering something because of the taste. Another girl also notices the freshness and strong flavor of the ingredients, which makes her think of something familiar. One of the girls seems suspicious about something in the flavor but hides it and says everything is great. The lady of the castle notices and asks if something is wrong, and another girl comments that the ingredients are amazing. The hostess then reveals she buys special ingredients from a certain merchant named Poppet. The girls are shocked to realize that the ingredients used in the banquet probably come from the plantations of one of their brothers, Geo. Even without knowing where the merchant gets the products, now everything makes sense to them. One of the girls mentally confirms that the ingredients really are from her brother, Geo's plantations, and feels happy about that. She comments it would have been great if he had also received the Lord's praise. Meanwhile, another girl falls into a sad mood, repeating that she misses Dennis. After enjoying the feast well, the Lord asks if everyone is satisfied. The girls confirm gratefully, saying everything was very tasty, while the plates start being cleared. The Lord then changes the subject and, with a smile, says she would like to reward them for everything they have done so far. The girls are surprised to hear they will receive a reward. While the conversation about rewards goes on, a butler enters announcing that someone named Lirucaliria has arrived. The Lord asks to know what she wants, since she is busy with the guests. One of the girls reacts surprised hearing the name, making it clear she knows this person. The Lord asks if they know a merchant called Lirucaliria. The girls answer yes, and one even comments she's seen her near her house. With that, the Lord orders the butler to let her in. Shortly after, Lirucaliria appears and asks to speak with the Lord. Lirucaliria bows before the Lord and thanks her for having saved her father's workshop some time ago. The Lord is surprised by the sudden attitude. Lirucaliria explains the Lord made an order for mithril weapons, using her as an intermediary, which directly helped her family. The Lord is surprised to discover the weapons she received were made by Lirucaliria's father. She comments that the quality is impeccable, and she was totally satisfied with the products. Liru reveals that purchase was something she only accepted to intermediate. The Lord comments excitedly that she was very happy to get mithril weapons at such a cheap price, even though it was a high value for others. Liru reveals that Lirucaliria was the one who supplied all that mithril. At that moment, she finally appears in the room, greeting everyone with a cheerful hello. Lirucaliria arrives, all excited, and confirms that she supplied the mithril. The Lord is surprised since she didn't know those weapons were made by Sifa's family. Then she realizes that if Liru gave the mithril, she didn't receive anything in return. The girls comment on how she's always very secretive about everything, but Liru just replies with a smile and a shh, while Sifa starts putting the pieces together, suspecting something. Everyone is shocked, thinking that Geo's garden can even grow mithril. Meanwhile, Liru, with her usual way, says she only came because she heard the girls had been invited. The Lord gets curious and asks the real reason for her visit. The Lord asks if they've already decided which reward they want, but none had thought about it yet. Liru takes the opportunity and says she arrived just in time, asking them to listen to her idea. The girls are curious about what she has in mind. Liru whispers her idea to the girls, leaving the Lord suspicious, not knowing what she's plotting. Meanwhile, the dark-haired girl is discouraged, feeling left out. Soon after, the girls agree excitedly with Liru's plan, saying it's a great idea. The girls approach and announce that they've already made a decision about the reward. In unison, and with determined looks, they say they want something, leaving the Lord curious and attentive to the answer. Geo prepares to eat with the giant cat. He looks at the plate and imagines it must be a meal, unlike any he's ever seen, something very different from the simple food he used to eat. Meanwhile, he wonders what kind of food they serve in the castle. Geo eats excitedly and praises the taste of the food, even though it's simple. Meanwhile, he thinks how lucky the others were to be invited to the castle. He recognizes that Sena only went along by luck, but feels Sifa is getting more and more distant from him, especially now that she's been promoted to rank B. Geo returns to the garden with his cat, checking what he's already harvested. Meanwhile, his little sister arrives excited, shouting that she's back. He's surprised to see her there again so early. Geo hears familiar voices and realizes Laruka and Annie are arriving. With that, he tells his cat Milk to hide in the garden, since he's hiding his existence from everyone. Soon after, the girls approach the house. Geo is surprised to see Sifa arriving at his house along with the other girls. She apologizes for showing up without warning, and he immediately asks if all were invited to the castle too, curious about what's happening. Geo is shocked to discover the girls received a piece of land as a reward, but the surprise grows when they say they intend to give that land to him. Even though it's a useless area where no one lives, their attitude leaves him speechless. Geo is even more surprised to learn that the girls' request was specially thought out for him. They want him to use the land to expand his garden. Liru was the one who had the idea, and they all agreed. Even confused, Geo asks why they chose something like that instead of something for themselves. Geo listens emotionally while the girls explain that all of that was a thank you. He didn't just help in the adventure, but also saved the store of one of them and the restaurant of the other's sister. They wanted to give back somehow, and decided to do it with the land. Geo tries to be modest, saying he only helped a little, and they did the hard work. But before he finishes speaking, one interrupts, pulling his attention with a finger, ready to make clear what they really mean. Liru says firmly that Geo's achievements with the garden can't be publicly disclosed, but even so, he deserves a reward. Annie adds that it was a way for everyone to show how much they care about him, so he should accept without complaining. Liru smiles, and says that even though Geo's garden is a secret, it's amazing too. Geo is left speechless, hearing that, visibly emotional with everyone's recognition. Geo thanks them with a genuine smile, saying nothing would make him happier than to accept that gift. The girls watch him with soft and satisfied expressions. Geo responds excitedly that yes, he will be able to make good use of the gift. He thinks that with every new level, the garden's size also grows, so having more space would be very useful. At that moment, the cat appears out of nowhere with a pop, catching attention with a meow. Geo panics seeing the cat appearing out of nowhere, even after telling him to hide. One of the girls gets scared, thinking it's a snow leopard or some kind of monster, leaving everyone confused. The girls are shocked to see the animal there, wondering what it's doing in that place. Geo, desperate, tries to calm the situation, and explains the creature is his pet called Milk. The animal rubs affectionately against him, and everyone realizes he's really tame. While everyone looked curiously at the big cat, one girl comments that it seemed too big to be just a normal cat. Someone asks where he came from, and the boy reveals with a smile that he can actually make monster eggs grow, using his special garden. Everyone is shocked by the revelation. While walking along the walls, the group talks about Geo's ability. One worries about the power to create monsters en masse, thinking that's dangerous. Another tries to calm, saying Geo wouldn't use that power for anything bad. Even so, they ask him to be more careful to keep the garden secret. The group discovers the land offered by the Lord is outside the city, in a large area but full of monsters. Despite the place seeming dangerous, they feel relieved to have an escort and thank the Lord for the generosity of giving a territory that wasn't being used. Geo walks excitedly with the group, thinking about the land arranged for him. He is curious and excited, wondering what the place he will receive will be like. The group finally arrives at the place. Everyone looks curious, but what they find is a gloomy land full of dead trees. The girls are surprised and confused by the state of the place. As they get closer, the group realizes the land is actually a swamp. Everyone is surprised and a bit disappointed by the state of the place. At an earlier moment, a woman directly asks if he wants a piece of land, showing that's where it all started. The woman thought about the available land option, listing that it had to be unoccupied, spacious, and unused. Geo and the girls confirm they had accepted these conditions before, but now start rethinking the decision. The group observes the swamp more closely, and Geo realizes the place isn't just abandoned, it's infested. He's surprised to find so many monsters there at once. The group observes the swamp infested with monsters. The girls comment that the place isn't good for planting anything, and that it's taken over by creatures. Geo, scared, agrees without hesitation. Geo doubts if he could plant in a place so full of monsters. The girls comment that they didn't even explain to the Lord what the land's use would be. Even so, Geo activates his ability and designates the garden. The land starts glowing, and he says with a smile that the place will be useful. The girls are shocked by the sudden transformation of the place. Geo, with a huge smile, celebrates excitedly, saying it's perfect, and the place is now great. The group is impressed by the transformation of the land, which became a huge garden in seconds. Geo comments he only chose a random area, and even so, the result was gigantic. The girls are relieved, saying they were worried for nothing. Even the monsters were confused by the sudden change. Geo checks the data of his garden, noticing he already used more than 200,000 square units of land and still has a lot of space available. He wonders what he should plant first, but admits it's hard to imagine how he'll fill all of it. Looking at the girls, he thanks silently, recognizing that he only got this garden thanks to everyone's help. Geo has a sudden idea and talks excitedly with something or someone, leaving the girls confused. Two of them watch from afar, not understanding who he's talking to, and admit they have no idea what's going on. Monsters start approaching, and one of the girls notices they are heading straight for the group. She comments they are probably angry for having lost the territory. Quickly, another girl positions herself in front, telling Geo and Laruka to retreat. Geo tells them not to worry about the monsters, and calmly activates an ability called Mega Guardian Creation. Soon after, a giant creature appears, surprising everyone. The girls get scared and ask what that giant creature is. Geo, calm, says that since the garden is very large, he will create more guardians. He explains that by letting them act, the monsters of the place will be eliminated effortlessly. While the girls watch everything in shock, Geo moves on to the next step. He activates another ability called Defensive Wall Generator, making a wall appear around the garden to protect it from invasions. Geo decides to hide the garden so no one can find it, and activates the ability Hide Garden, surrounding the place with a magical barrier. Then, he notices a new function in his abilities, Travel Between Gardens, and begins imagining what else this skill might allow. Geo waves, saying he'll be right back, and activates the Travel Between Gardens ability. In an instant, he disappears in front of everyone. The girls are completely surprised, not understanding what just happened. Annie tries to understand what just happened, confused and saying it all makes no sense. Meanwhile, Geo reappears elsewhere, glowing, showing that the ability to travel between gardens really works. Geo appears excited in one of his old gardens and celebrates, confirming he can travel between all of them. He decides to take advantage of the trip to get food and bring it to the new land. Meanwhile, his big cat appears asking for milk, as if all this were the most normal thing in the world. Geo prepares to return with the food and invites the cat, Milk, to come along. After some petting and a smile, he activates the Travel Between Gardens ability again, disappearing with his companion in his arms. Geo reappears with Milk and the food, leaving everyone surprised by the speed. One of them notices the cat has grown a lot since the last time. Geo comments that now he'll be able to run freely in that huge space, while the girls still try to understand exactly what he did. Geo explains he managed to get back home instantly using the Travel Between Gardens ability, and the girls are impressed by how useful that is. Meanwhile, the Golems finish eliminating all the monsters in the area, leaving the land safe. Geo, seeing everything resolved, prepares to continue. Geo, all excited, says since they are there anyway, they could take advantage to eat. He reveals he brought several things for a barbecue. The girls are amazed by the amount and variety of food. Everyone gathers around the grill and begins to enjoy the barbecue under the open sky. One girl comments how tasty the food is, while another says eating outdoors is a great idea. The meat sizzles with a delicious sound, and the mood is now only of relaxation and gratitude. During the barbecue, one of the girls notices something and calls the group's attention. They turn and are impressed by the scene. A whole hill covered by flowers suddenly blooming, creating a colorful and lively field. Everyone watches amazed, The girls are enchanted by the flower field and ask in surprise if Gio made that. With a shy smile, he confirms and says it was his way of thanking for all the help he received. Everyone is touched by the gesture and thinks it's very kind of him. One girl thanks Gio emotionally for the flower-filled landscape, saying it's beautiful. He blushes with the compliment. Suddenly, Milk starts meowing loudly in the middle of the flowers, catching everyone's attention. Gio is startled by the cat's reaction. Gio runs among the flowers, smiling, saying he only got that huge garden thanks to everyone's help. The girls watch him warmly as he has fun, asking no one to step on the flowers. Gio decides to name the two gardens to avoid confusion, calling the first one First Garden and the new one Second Garden. Before really starting to plant in the new land, he picks some flowers and gives them to Laruka, leaving her surprised and happy. Gio looks at the pile of monsters defeated by the golems and thinks about what to do with them. Since the swamp monsters yield low-value materials, he considers that it might not even be worth processing them. While reflecting, a new option appears in the system asking if he wants to absorb the monsters, surprising Gio. Gio decides to test the option to absorb monsters, even not knowing exactly what that means. As soon as he accepts, all the bodies disappear instantly, and the system confirms the monsters were absorbed. Surprised, he looks at the empty place trying to understand what just happened. After absorbing the monsters, Gio notices the garden's level increased, and now he can cultivate new plants. He deduces that the home garden system recognized the magic stones in the monsters' bodies and absorbed everything at once. Surprised, he concludes that if he keeps defeating monsters, the garden will keep evolving. Gio has a brilliant idea and soon starts putting it into practice, releasing several flying insects from the garden. He observes the quantity and comments that maybe he released too many at once. Gio reveals that the smoke comes from incense that attracts monsters, which he got at Marlene's pharmacy. He remembers she didn't seem very well when she returned from the castle, but still provided the items. Gio decides to open the garden's walls, preparing everything for the next stage of the plan. With the incense still burning and the path cleared, he declares that now everything is ready to start. Gio notices the monsters approaching and gives the signal. The golem goes into action full force, charging straight at the beasts without hesitation. The golem goes all out, defeating the monsters easily. When everything calms down, Gio accepts to absorb the creatures' bodies once more. Gio celebrates seeing that the absorption worked again, and the garden's level increased. But there's no time to rest, because another monster is already coming, and he already has a new plan in mind. Gio explains his plan. He uses incense to attract monsters, makes the golem defeat them all, and then makes the garden absorb the bodies to gain experience. Gio realizes he created an automatic method to level the garden alone. He just needs to keep the incense active. The golem defeats the monsters, and the garden absorbs the bodies. Before, he depended on Sena to get magic stones, but now he can level up the garden without help. Gio watches excitedly while the golem deals with more monsters, finding it amazing how this gift is becoming more and more useful. He wonders if more creatures will keep coming. A few days later, the scene changes to an area a few dozen kilometers west of Arcel, showing a wide and peaceful view, with the garden visible in the distance. A few kilometers from Arcel, there is a dense and dark forest, known as the Death Forest, infested by monsters. A group of adventurers rested around a campfire near the forest. One suggested going deeper next time, but the blonde sitting preferred caution and to wait to see how things would unfold. While the forest shook with loud noises, someone thought about how dangerous that place was. They knew the deeper they went, the denser the mana became, and wondered what kind of scary monsters might be lurking there. Loud noises take over the forest as several monster shadows begin moving among the trees. Some have horns, others have eyes glowing in the dark, all looking restless. Sounds of heavy footsteps and breaking branches mix with intense movement in the vegetation, as if something big was about to happen. The group camping near the forest begins to notice something strange. The girl with animal ears alerts that she hears something coming from the forest. Soon after, the ground starts shaking slightly. One adventurer thinks it might be an earthquake, but realizes it's not the ground trembling, it's a sound. Something is running. The noise gets louder and rhythmic, as if a crowd of creatures was approaching quickly. Suddenly, a huge herd of horned monsters comes running from the forest, destroying everything on the way. One adventurer shouts that it's a stampede, a wild run of monsters. The group runs to a higher point and watches, impressed by the absurd number of creatures advancing. The sight is frightening, and the sound of the ground shaking with heavy movement fills the place. One man watches the map and notices that if the monsters keep going east, they will pass through populated areas. He panics, saying that if that happens, many people will get hurt. Without wasting time, he orders a companion to gallop out to warn everyone as fast as possible. As the monsters advance non-stop, one character shouts desperately, saying Arcel will be in danger if this continues. The view shows the huge devastation caused by the monsters run toward the city. A woman sitting lets out a tired sigh while analyzing some papers, commenting that she has a lot of paperwork to handle today. She seems involved in administrative or leadership matters. While the woman complains about the paperwork overload, a man brings even more documents for her to sign. They talk about Arcel's growth and the increase in territorial contracts. Despite this, she shows a desire to go out and explore dungeons. Then, the man mentions he has something to report, and she quickly asks if it's about the swamp case. The woman is surprised by the information, while the man reports that the entire area has become empty land. He explains there is no trace left of vegetation or monsters that used to live there, and when they tried to approach, they were stopped by some kind of invisible wall. The woman remains thoughtful, trying to understand what is going on. She hears that probably someone raised a very advanced magic barrier in that area. Confused, she wonders what all that means, not believing something so complex was done in such a short time. Silently, she remembers choosing that place precisely because it was isolated, where she could test the girls without interference from others. Now, she wonders what exactly is being done there.